my world champion. Gonna do it! Oh, look at the time! 0.69 from Greg Minnaar. Minnaar goes fastest by 0.22. Oh my goodness! That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
Every generation of a sport has an athlete who becomes the standard that everyone is measured against. For downhill mountain biking, that rider is Greg Minnaar. From winning his first World Cup at just 19 years old to winning a World Championship just weeks before his 40th birthday. 2 decades apart, Greg Minnaar was still winning at the highest level. You won that first one at 19.
At 19, yeah.
Damn.
I ended up winning a World Championship, I think it was a month before my 40th birthday. That was fun.
4 World Cup Championship titles, 22 World Cup victories, more World Cup podiums than any rider in history. But staying at the top is one thing. Staying there while the sport continued to evolve is what made Greg Minnaar one of the greatest of all time. Through every generation of bikes, every evolution of the sport, and every new challenger, Greg Minnaar just kept winning.
The first one had to be Sam Hill, but also he came with a different style. He was the first one that in my career that made me change my game. Probably the next real strong one was Gwin. Just brought like another pace to racing.
Who came after that made you kind of change?
Loic Bruni, maybe?
Oh yeah. From Sam Hill to Gwin to Loic Bruni, the names changed, the competition got faster, but Greg Minnaar remained the benchmark. His legacy isn't just measured by the races he won, it's measured by the standard he set for every rider who came after him.
I've had a good career, I've had a lot of good wins, but it's all kind of just happened along the way. I haven't really had this like big plan set out to try and achieve this. I wanted to become a professional, I wanted to win a world championship, and I've done that, but the bigger picture stuff, it kind of just went along its way.
Gypsy gang, welcome Greg Minnaar to the podcast. I cannot stand over-the-top YouTubers that start every single video with like, subscribe, smash that like button. I never ever wanted to be that guy. But in the 7 years that I've been doing this, I would see over and over and over the comments that say, man, how does this channel not have more subscribers? And on the Jet Lawrence podcast, I finally caved. And I asked the Gypsy gang to check to see if they were subscribed, because we have the data and we know that 70% of the people that watch this podcast regularly aren't subscribed. And I was really interested to see what would happen if I just straight up asked you at the start of an episode. Well, it turns out exactly 4,100 people subscribed to the podcast off that one episode alone, and 7,000 people subscribed last month. So thank you very much. And subscribing to the podcast is something that you can do completely for free, but it actually has a pretty massive follow-on effect with everything that we do. That number is in every presentation that we give to sponsors. It's in every presentation that we give to guests that we're trying to get on the pod, and a whole lot more. Those 7,000 subscribers that we got last month finally pushed us over the 100K mark on this full show channel, taking us well over 350,000 subscribers on YouTube in total. So if you still don't know whether or not you're subscribed, double check now. And thank you so much for watching.
I'll come see the Gypsy. Hopefully hang out and have a few beers. Hey, bro.
Yeah, Bruce.
How are you?
How are you?
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. Like,
BMXs, some old Cannondales. What's that?
oh, yeah. Yeah, you raced one of them.
I did.
Close, eh?
That's all I'm supposed to say in this camera. I'm feeling quite intimidated right now.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. I want some stories.
Better bring out my A game.
It's lock in, boy. There he is. Big one. Beauty. We're rolling. Greg Minnaar. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
I mean, yeah, this table's not the best. This isn't our usual.
It's a good setup. It's a really good setup.
It is cool. Scooch on in a bit closer. So we were talking before, I have an unusual connection to Greg Minnaar that goes back into the mid-90s, I would say, with old Uncle Glenn.
Uncle Glenn.
I know.
Glenn Jacobs, what a legend.
What a legend, eh? When was the first time you met Glenn?
First time I met Glenn was probably, it must have been 1998.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, because Yeah. I would say 1997
Yeah.
and going into 1998. So I was like first year junior, meeting, back then Glenn was a course designer, building like incredible courses and tracks, mountain bikes, dual slalom and dual back then. And it's, I don't know, somehow South Africans and Aussies kind of, when we're traveling, we get on well. Obviously South Africa is a bit stronger in rugby and other sports, but somehow we get on when we travel. It must just be the Commonwealth, right?
Look, you are good at rugby. I will give you guys that. The old Springbok do go pretty hard. No, it's so true. You kind of just, I feel like you get the English, the UK, South Africans, like there is like a common, more so than Americans, it feels like. Yeah, there is definitely a vibe between Kiwis, Aussies, South Africans,
what
English.
is it?
I don't know.
Commonwealth?
It probably is the Commonwealth, eh?
Yeah.
But it's definitely different to Americans even, eh? Like just the sense of humor is so different.
I was trying to think of it because it's like, along the way, there's always like the South Africans, English, the Kiwis, the Aussies.
Yeah.
And is it meat pies maybe?
It's gotta
Sausage roll? I don't know.
Gotta be
There's got to be something like that.
Yeah.
And, or just the Commonwealth. But somehow we always do connect in different ways.
I feel like
Although we're also competitors in
hardcore
competitors. Yeah.
I feel like there's also something in distance. So we're far away from everything else. And I feel like, at least for me growing up in Cairns, you had Sean McCarroll, you had Mick Hanna. There were so many really good guys that were kind of coming from that region, and they were kind of very separated. You didn't know how fast you were. So it was just push because you kind of didn't know where the limit was. And maybe it was like that for you growing up in South Africa, where you're looking at across the pond and you're just sending it to try and make it. And I think that there's something in that as well, because so many really fast guys came from places where they probably shouldn't have come from.
Yeah. And maybe, you kind of like, I think you touched on a point where it's like we had to leave home to try and make it in Europe or America or anywhere else. And maybe that's what connected us. Like we didn't have our friends that we grew up with. Maybe the English did, if they're going to Europe, they grew up with some of the guys that are, they're racing against. Whereas we had to kind of reconnect and find our group of people and maybe just that connection.
So how fun were some of those times back in the day?
Oh, wow, man. It's like, to go back and think about it, Mud Cows was a video that I'd seen when I was young. Glenn Jacobs put this thing together. And to me, that was a dream of trying to become a professional, like to see what these guys were doing on these big teams and just having fun riding bikes and messing around. That's what it was in the 90s. And then Mud Cows 2 came out. And you had Michael running, Scott Sharples.
Yeah.
Quite a strong Aussie contingency back then.
Yeah, Kovarik.
Then Kovarik.
Yeah.
Sean McCarroll, then Kovarik.
Yeah.
Rennie, and then into Sam Hill. And but those Mud Car days were like quite inspirational for me. To me, seeing how all the guys were having a good time and on the road, and that kind of set the tone. I guess it's like the crusty demons of motocross, right?
Man, and nowadays, I wonder how many people in modern downhill would know about those films, because they were iconic in that they were very ahead of their time. Like there really wasn't much like that in action sports. Like you had crusties, but that was kind of like, it was very, very new ground, and cable cams and helmet cameras, and like Glenn was always inventing this crazy shit.
Yeah, he did a lot. I don't think a lot of people nowadays actually know much about Glenn, but he did so much for the sport in so many different ways. Just to see how strong Cairns was in mountain biking, I think is all due to Glenn's involvement with the sport.
It was a culture at home.
Yeah.
There was a really good culture, and he really was the figurehead. He was like the leader of the misfits in a way, Well,
I think that's what Mud Cars was, right? It showed this culture of misfits, and hey, it definitely resonated with me.
So you saw those films before you ever met Glenn?
No, I'd met Glenn, and Glenn had then, I'd probably given me a VHS back then, which you'd have to like rewind, watch and just keep going through it. Watch the movie, rewind it back to the beginning, watch it again. It was great. I mean, that was and it's kind of weird because you go through this whole, process of trying to, you wanting to get to be a professional, and you want to try and win a world championship, and you want to try and win World Cups, and you want to do all this great stuff. But you never really get time to think back to how it all started, how it all came about. People are like, oh, you must have had this great plan to get to certain parts of life and sport. And I didn't really have that. But when you go back and you think about this time, we're bouncing back to like the 90s and I was 15, 16 traveling in Europe, and there's some fun times, but there's also some really hard times. And as we were talking about going back in time, you kind of reflect back on them going, well, shit, that was a bit touch and go if I was going to make it or not.
Have you ever really thought about hydration? I bet you haven't, but I have, and that's why I am on a mission to hydrate action sports with my new company, Soda Fuel. You can look at any study. Hydration is one of the key factors in human performance. And action sports is about as high performance as it gets, and there are extreme consequences to not being locked in. Find out more about how important hydration is for you, and if you're leaving performance on the table, by heading to sodafuel.com. What was the roadmap? So you grew up in Pietermaritzburg in South Africa.
Yeah.
And your parents owned a bike shop. So you kind of had a bit of an early, I guess, start in bikes were around. Yeah, bikes were definitely around. My dad started BMX in South Africa. Really?
So he raced motocross and saw this opportunity to get kids on bikes off the streets onto like a track, and so they had BMX. Kind of started there. I was 4 years old and I got a BMX to go and race BMX, and there's a picture my parents have taken of me getting my first BMX and just started crying. I think I was, 3 or 4, because I wanted a motocross bike. I didn't want a BMX. And I think when I was really young, I was flicking through photos of always see my dad on motorbikes, and then I've got this BMX, not quite the same. And so I got a BMX, tried to go race. I couldn't get up the jumps, couldn't make it around the track. I didn't really enjoy it. And then I got onto motorbikes at 4.5. And we'd gone to a little fete, and I think you could sit on the back of a little PV50 and this guy would take you around the track. Yeah. And I said to my dad, hey, I want to try. I reckon I can go. Give me a little go. Try to convince him that I can ride this thing. And he managed to. So he held it back, and then I accelerated off and did a few laps, and I loved it. So I went back the next day, did the same thing, and then went to racing motocross. Really? So that was the starting point. Yeah. You're like, fuck this BMX shit. I'm not sure I quite said it like that, but that was the vibe. That was it. So I got into motocross 4.5. And raced through till I was about 13, 14, where my dad had taken he worked at the bottling plant for Coke. He was in sales, Coca-Cola, and for some reason he hasn't actually given us an honest answer or honest reason why, but somehow he bought a bicycle shop as his retirement, and that's what got us into bikes again. That's so cool, eh? How did you ever have any ambitions of racing pro for motocross? Would that have been more the plan, do you think? Or that was my dream. Yeah, okay. I mean, growing up, and probably we were in quite a hot spot for motocross in South Africa. We had Greg Albertine charging away. GL. I was Grant and I were the same age and racing. Grant was arguably a lot better than I was. And then you had Tyler Rattray and Gareth Swanepoel coming up. So it was quite a good era. And to me, that would have been the dream, to to race. I mean, my life goal would be to go around a supercross track. I'd love to give that a go.
I've seen you hit whoops.
Yeah. And I think the closest I came was in Australia. We're out with the Lusty guys. At Bigsy's place.
Yeah.
And he had the little supercross track. And I was like, I've got to send this track. But the clutch was slipping on this bike I was on. And every time I got into some kind of like rhythm section, I was like a little shy or a little too deep. And I was like, this is a bit sketchy with this clutch slipping. So did a few laps and gave it in, but that was the closest I've got.
How much better were those guys than you when you were just full peak racing?
I think when I was younger, I was probably a little bit more competitive. And the older I got, they were definitely a lot better.
Yeah.
I mean, Grant was, I remember Grant on 80s, and he was definitely like streaks ahead. I feel like it was kind of it was something that I really loved, but because I was doing it maybe not as often as everyone else, I wasn't getting the time on the bike, but I also didn't have a lot of attention into it. Whereas when I went to mountain bikes a little bit older, I came back to motocross. Well, I still kept riding. I still try and ride once a week, even now. When I'm in Europe, it's a bit tougher, but back in South Africa, I've got a track pretty close. So, but I felt like I learned a lot more going back from bicycles to motorbikes.
Yeah.
I understand, traction, turning. I felt like it probably improved my motocross a bit.
Yeah, because you're a guy that has talent in terms of, I mean, I guess that means a different thing to different people, but you're a world champion on a two-wheeled discipline, which means that you can send it and you aren't afraid of whatever the obstacles are that you have to do to be competitive. Like there's ingredients that people need to be successful in a sport like that. And I feel like there is a crossover. So it probably would have just been time, attention, Yeah.
I'd love to say that I had the skill of like Grant, but I don't think I had. I do. We're competitive. It didn't matter what the challenge was. If you really want to do something, for me, it was like, that's part of the game. I can't just go play a round of golf, and I'm terrible at golf, but I love it. But every time we go out to play golf, it's like, there's got to be money on it. There's got to be there's got to be a game. There's got to be a winner, and there's got to be a loser. Most of the time it's me losing and in golf, but that's just the way it is. And we just love competition. So maybe, but I don't think I had enough to persevere. I think when I go I was riding downhill I hadn't ridden in a while, and I'd seen this like gap out of this berm, kind of like a step down thing, and I'd seen a video of one of the hot young riders doing it, and the guys were like, well, it's big and a bit risky. So I was like, well, I need to give it a go. Like, there's the challenge. But I know I've got I can sense I've got the skill to do it.
Yeah.
And it's going to really put me on the edge, but I feel like there's a bit of confidence to know that I can do it. Whereas I didn't think I had that racing motocross. I just never felt like I could have taken further. Yeah,
but was it just purely a time thing and purely a access thing? Maybe
it could have been. I mean, I wasn't. I'd only ride on weekends, and as my parents got into the bike shop, where it was even less. So, the older I got, the less time I spent at the motocross track.
So then, how did the mountain bike thing happen?
Well, I could go and do it by myself. So while I wasn't able to spend time practicing like all the others, I could go and ride in the forest, go dig some jumps, and go dirt jumping, and that kind of built some skill towards mountain biking. So it was something that I could do on my own and not have to be taken to the track and motorbikes prepared and everything else. And I think that's what kind of led me into racing mountain bikes.
Yeah. So it would have just been time. You would have just gotten more time to to just be on the bike, because I just what do you think about talent? Because I look at you incredibly talented guy that won multiple world championships and became the GOAT of a two-wheeled sport. So it's like, okay, that's, to me, I'm like, if there's talent that exists, it's probably right there.
Yeah, maybe, but I'm not as confident as you about this. But I think you're onto something, because it's interesting. We've got a pretty good group of guys up in Andorra, and we'll go train together and ride together. We always talk about like that prime in your career where you maybe were staying up a bit later at night and having a good time, but you're winning races and you're kind of unstoppable. Things were just clicking. And like, how do you get into that? And it's almost like I feel like a little bit of arrogance in a way, because you're so confident it's going to work out, it's going to be fine, you're going to win the race. It's just what it is. But it's really hard to replicate. And when you're on that wave, it's really good. And when you're off the wave, you've got to try and find a way to make it back on. It's maybe not always sustainable for long periods, but at the time it works really well.
So what do you think about natural talent then? So you look at someone, and is it because, okay, so for me, I would say I'm not naturally talented, right? Because I've never made it past a local racing, like I probably got to your level of motocross, right? But then it's like, okay, was I not naturally talented enough to keep going? Or was it that I didn't have the opportunity to ride enough and I didn't have, like, is there external ingredients missing, or is talent an actual internal thing? Because I look at Jack, he's a fucking freak, bro. Just, he can literally do anything. There's one of my favorite stories that just speaks to his brain, where I'm like, your brain is different to my brain. He's got a mate, Franco. I don't know if you've ever met Frank in Andorra. No. So he's his mechanic at home, right? They're best mates, grew up together. So Franco walks out of the shed with an RM125 that he's been building. And just, ding, 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 ding. He's like, I've rejetted this thing. Just give it a run and see how it goes. Jack, no helmet, no shoes, grass like this long, and a field, and just goes, fifth gear, and then turns around, I'm like, bro, all of the alarm bells are going off in my brain that you're going to die doing this. So that's something like I feel like I'm born with that thing in my brain that just won't let me do that. And he's born with a thing in his brain that's like, not even a thing.
But I think that's like, that's kind of what I'm trying to say is like, there's this part where, he had no helmet. He didn't even think about that. Yeah, there's a chance he might crash, but it's not going through his head, and he's not going to crash because he's that confident about it.
But what about a rock that you don't see because the grass is long?
Well, that's when things go bad quickly, but it doesn't always happen that way.
Yeah, but I think that's what I'm saying is like, I feel like there's a thing in some guys where they just don't have the alarm bells ringing in the way that I have the alarm bells ringing. And if I was at the top of the Andorra downhill track, there would be so many ways on the way down where my brain would just force me to hit the brakes,
And that's what you see in like downhill. You've got like young guys coming through, and maybe once they have a few crashes and they start to understand that injury can happen, but you can also overcome that as well. But there's always this confidence that's like a higher level than that. And I don't know. I remember being young, going out training on a road bike, no helmet, and I remember probably my dad going, why'd you wear a helmet? I'm like, well, I'm not going to crash. I'm on the road. I'm on a road bike. Why would you? There's nothing to take you out. It's so arrogant and so cocky, but that's how young people are. They don't think about the consequence. They don't have this like library of consequences. And maybe as you get older, you have this storage of a lot of consequence, and it's sieving through that to then be a little bit more calculated. But it happens, and you see it with young guys. I mean, they bring this level of intensity and new way of doing things, and it works. And it's different to what everyone else has done, but it just works. The bike might not even be set up well, but they're still fast. And it works until it doesn't, but then they'll find another way, usually to figure it out again. But it's that level of confidence when it's hard to beat. And it happens in sport. I mean, you see it come through, and riders will dominate for a period and then drop off. But when they come in at that pace, you see the older guys or the more experienced guys have to readapt and get on top of it. Whilst they're not going to win, and then it changes the sport, and the sport,
just like leapfrogs.
But it's those like people that elevate it. And it's just like this level of confidence that it's so hard to find.
What was the most confident you were in your career?
Well, see, I don't think I ever had that.
Really?
No, I never had that. So I felt like I never had the skill of any other rider, but I'd never miss a training day, and I'd work really hard to make sure that every detail was covered. And but I also didn't really understand how sometimes I'd be able to elevate to the pace of other riders. But it would happen. And I couldn't exactly tell you why or how, but I would definitely know exactly where on track I could ride way above, my skill level, way over my head. And then back it down to bits of track where I wasn't confident. I'd slow it down a little bit, but I knew I had to race at 110% or else I wasn't going to win.
So what were the areas of the track where you had that feeling of confidence, and what were the areas where you didn't?
Anything high speed, big fast sections. I try to make the track as simple as possible. For me to try and ride a really tight line, off camber, inside, on the brakes, nah. Pedal hard, hit the outside, smash it hard, and then, keep the speed going, keep the revs up. That was more my style. But also being quite a bit taller than everyone and probably quite heavier than most of the other riders, I need to run the outside line. So it worked well for me.
So when you talk about that level of confidence and seeing it in guys, who were the people you raced against that you think had that?
Oh man, I had a few.
Because you've seen so many errors.
Yeah. The first one had to be Sam Hill. But also he came with a different style. He was able to ride these inside lines, these crazy inside lines. He was the first one that in my career that made me change my game. I had to rethink the way I did things, and he was a tough competitor and just a great rider, unbelievable. I mean, there were races where World Championships in Val d'Isère where he crashes on the last corner, the famous crash. Just the fact that he cut down, I think he was probably 8 seconds in the lead or something. It was insane. Sam was incredible, and he adapted too. He struggled a bit on the more physical tracks, but then he got really strong on them. To win in Fort William, he was impressive. So he kind of changed the game, and then probably the next real strong one was Aaron Gwin. Just brought in another pace to racing, which was another one.
He was like an Eli Tomac.
Yeah. And it was just he was there, and then suddenly he was on the top, and he was hard to beat. I think he won 5 races in a row, 5 World Cups in a row, and then I had to rethink racing again and setting up the bike differently and making more adjustments. But I was probably already in my 30s by then. So yeah.
So let's stick on Sam, because to me, he's one of the most interesting dudes in sport in general. Because how much time have you spent around him outside of racing?
Not a whole lot.
So you don't know him much as a person?
No. He, when Sam was younger, he was quite outgoing, and but the older he got, he was quite quiet, and didn't really get to know him very well. Yeah,
he is very quiet.
Yeah.
He's one of those people where when you know him, he's very funny and kind of outgoing to you. But then when you don't know him or with other people, he's super, super reserved.
Yeah.
But when you look at the way he rode and how dominant he was, but then you know him as a person, you're just where is this? Where does that confidence come from? Where does that, but just the most unassuming guy that it didn't fit. The way that he rode and the way that he dominated just didn't fit the personality. You look at a Deegan, and then you see the results and you see the domination, and then you hear what he says, and it's just it makes sense. It's a very even match to the output versus him as a person. And Sam's almost the exact opposite.
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't get to know him very well. But then some of his mates would come over, and I'd hang out with his mates and have a few drinks at the bar, and they were a good bunch. Father used to be at quite a few of the races, really great guy, and it's just he was just quiet. But man, when he put in a heater, he could turn it up a lot.
What do you remember about some of those runs? Was it basically people just scratching their heads?
Sam Sam put together these really technical lines. So he'd ride a really tight line. And to me, like, it could work really well, but it's really risky. I couldn't do it. I wasn't as precise and detailed as he was. But sometimes you could beat him by really slamming these outside lines to just carry a bit more pace. But, you know, you would see him in training, and I didn't know if he was just doing it to mess with your head. And you'd be looking at a section on track, and he'd come on the most off-camber part of the corner, real tight over the inside, and like kind of go through, and you'd like, wow, am I completely offline here? Or what do I need to do?
Yeah, what's the
and
line?
I don't know if he was just messing with you or what it was. And that used to like blow me away. It was like, he might be sticking to this line all week, or this is just to put you completely off. And 99% of the time, it put me completely off. And so he was great. I mean, what he did was in that space of time was impressive.
How did he change the sport? Did people adapt to those lines post his success?
He was definitely a bit before his era. I mean, is that the right way to say it?
Yeah, like before his time in a way.
Before his time, yeah. Like he was riding stuff that probably we would be riding now.
Yeah.
So on those tires, on that suspension, on those bikes, pretty tough. Maybe with flat pedals gave him the ability to hold the line, but the rest of us were all clipped in.
Yeah.
You know, I was always nervous to ride flat pedal because every time I did, I was foot out and just like slapping corners and because to me, when I was on flat pedals, this was my like playtime. Going back to dirt jumping and hanging out, I could never be serious and be on flat pedals. So I always racing, clipped in, keep me calm, brake early, nice and controlled and smooth. But, you know, back then, I think there was an advantage to him. But then he had to pedal really hard and he had to get so much stronger on the pedals. So, and he did that. He managed to do both.
Yeah, that was the era where it was skin suits and clips. Yeah. And then he comes wearing size 38 baggy Troy Lee pants and flat pedals. Yeah. And just starts riding these crazy, weird lines and just, that was my peak era for me. That was when I was racing downhill. It's before I like really started racing motocross. Yeah. And it was just mind blowing, like the way that he came and dominated, and then was just such a quiet, like almost seemed like unsure of himself in a way which just didn't match.
Well, he wasn't quite as a junior on the road.
Really?
No, he was at the parties. He was there a lot. And back then that was the thing. It was like race hard, party hard, off to the next stop. It changed a lot since then, but as a junior, I think he was mixing it up at the parties.
I wonder if it's just the pressure when you get to the top level, and you know, because he would say, he did the podcast a few years ago, and he would say that he would lay in bed with a stopwatch, close his eyes, do his run, and then stop it at the bottom, and he would be within a second of his time. Yeah,
that's way more precise than that. You know, I'd try and get within a range, but my whole thing was to really lay it out in that final run. Like I couldn't ride. I couldn't do it lap after lap. You know, I'd be able to be consistent, but I generally ride a lot slower. And then race, I really have to elevate my game.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a thing. I mean, it's different, but like, because I'll do jiu-jitsu and I'll do competitions. And in the gym, I could never go all out. I would try and I would think that I am. But then as soon as I got into a competition, it was just a completely different person. I could just never replicate that. And I think, at least in my head, the way that I think about it is that I actually am way more scared to lose than excited to win. And so as soon as I just didn't care about winning that much in the gym. I was like, oh, fuck, whatever, you know, like, but you are trying, but you know, it doesn't actually mean anything. But then as soon as there's all the people watching you and it's just two people on the mat and it's literally all eyes on you, you've got your whole team there, you've got coaches screaming at you. I'm just like, I'm fucking terrified to lose right now. And I wasn't there to have fun. I wasn't there to enjoy it. I just want to go in, rip the dude's leg off and then leave. And that's it. Like, just get me out of there as soon as possible.
Yeah. I mean, that fear of losing is real, right? it can elevate you for probably a fair bit of time, and then it can work against you as well. And I found that. I found like, I was the same. I had the fear of losing, but then I towards the end of my career, I felt it was kind of holding me back a bit. You're going to win a race at 100%. You need to, let it go a bit more.
Yeah. So when you talk about Gwin and having to change bike setup and change your style, what did you have to do to the bike to be able to match what he was doing?
I was always taller, so I was always adjusting the bike a lot. And, being sensitive on a downhill bike's pretty tough, especially when it's like a 26-inch wheel, shorter wheelbase, like BMXs.
Yeah.
And that's also going back to like a Sam era. Like he sat really well on that bike.
Yeah.
Like he was in between the wheels. He, for myself and Peaty in that era, it was really hard to do. Like Peaty's probably one of the, he's as tall as I am, big guy.
Rennie was big too.
And actually both those guys can corner really well for being so tall. I didn't think I had that skill, but that's where Sam was strong. He was centered and could let it go. Gwin maybe a little bit bigger, bikes have grown a bit, but just had this real high intensity race. We'd probably start, find like sections of track where you maybe have a breather. Whereas when Gwin came, just call him Gwin.
Gwin.
Cut that out.
Yeah.
The era before Gwin was Gwin. We got to pull that out.
What?
I keep calling Gwin.
Aaron Gwin, same shit.
Gwin. Well, I'm saying Gwin.
Yeah, that's all right. I think that's all right.
When Aaron came in, there was like a new intensity to racing. Before we'd like maybe have a breather on track. My whole thing was like come into a section, it's really technical, have a breather, maybe spin the cranks or something, spin the legs a bit, and then get into the section and go hard again. Where Aaron came in, it was like hot from start to finish. And that was one of the things I had to adjust, but also just getting a bit more control of my bike. Like I remember racing in Austria, and I want to say I finished 4th or 3rd, and Aaron had won. And there was no ways that I could keep my bike on the ground through sections. It was just pinging everywhere, and I was just hanging on. And I was like, I need to like find more control in this bike, And so that was one of the things we had to work on. And I managed to get it right towards the end and grow the bike up to 29-inch wheels. That definitely did help. Gave me extended my career a little bit. So, but it was good. It always made you rethink of how you do things, and I think that's kind of cool. It sometimes can be a tough process when you're in it, but it's so rewarding once you overcome it.
So, how did you adjust to keep your wheels on the ground more?
Firm up the bike, slow it down a bit.
Right.
Adjust the way I was physically on the bike too. It's so easy to finish a season and just look at the bike, but sometimes as a rider too, adjust the way I was, body position, try and find ways that I could be stronger, better. And I think I was pretty good at that, just really breaking things down at the end of the season, not only just looking at the bike, but trying to adjust the way I was physically training as well.
There's always a guy that comes along. Ricky Carmichael's the moto dude of that. So Gwin was almost the Ricky Carmichael of downhill, to where he comes along and he's like, oh, you guys are resting? Okay, we're about to just fully send it. And everyone then has to be like, okay, I guess this is the new normal now, is that you just go flat out every single part of the run. Yeah,
I'd agree with that. I think Aaron did, and he did really well. He was in control. He'd had some great races as well. I mean, the run in Leogang with no chain was incredible. And then winning in Canada in the rain, another amazing run. So Gwin was, he was a tough competitor. He was one that really challenged me. Yeah.
So do you think that he kind of reinvigorated downhill in the US in a sense, because if you look at downhill now, you've got Asa that's just come in and you've kind of have got a younger contingent of American riders, because before Aaron came in, it was just a very America didn't have the same premise. I mean, I don't even know. Oh, that's going back too. Would that have been the last? Yeah, it probably was.
Yeah. I mean, downhill in America used to be where it was at. I mean, World Cup used to piggyback off the US National Series.
It was Norba, wasn't it?
Norba, yeah.
Yeah.
I had a few years where we had to race Norbas over World Cup. So I was leading the World Cup in 2004, and Honda said, well, we need to race the American National Series. So
no way.
I had to go and they had conflicting schedules, so I had to race the Norbas instead, and that's just the way it was. So I think you're right in saying that Aaron definitely kickstarted American racing again. It took a while, but it's coming strong. I mean, you've got Asa, you've got quite a few guys now up there. The first World Cup where Metcalf come through. And it's good to see, American racing is back. It's nice. I think that whole Pro DH series that they've got going now is the guys have done a good job there. Clay Harper and the guys have really put on a good show.
Yeah, I mean, I remember Clay Porter making those films. Yep. He was instrumental as well. Did some of the music choices, some of the films that got made around that time where the Norbas were really cranking. And who else was... There was some good American riders back then. Who am I missing? Who am I not thinking of?
Colin Bailey was one of them.
Maybe it was just you guys that were doing it that made it. So I'm trying to just think about those.
I can't think of any.
Yeah, I'm trying to think about those movies, but there was a lot of Kovarik in there. They were
all on American teams.
Yeah, true, because it was intense factory racing. It was
intense. You had Max's have a team with John Kirkcaldy.
Yeah.
Won a few national events. Kovarik. You had Yeti and Schwinn.
Yeah.
But that was with like Nathan Rennie.
Yeah.
I can't think.
Yeah, honestly, right. Like it was mostly international guys, but racing that American.
Google it quick.
Yeah. No, I mean, I honestly think you're right, eh? But yeah, it really was kind of in a heyday. But it also makes sense how much time that it takes, right? So if you think about in Supercross, the Chad Reed era, well, who were the kids that grew up looking up to Chad Reed? Hunter and Jet, Lawrence. And then it takes a whole nother cycle to... There'll be kids now that are looking up to the Lawrence brothers that will. And when you have people kind of go and then fall out, or you don't have enough guys, like the French have always had examples of fast riders to look up to in downhill, you know.
Like, it's been incredible, really.
Yeah. And then you look at in the UK, they've always had guys that they looked up to. You had, like, you go to Steve Peat, then you go Rat Boy, then you go Danny Hart, and there's like a constant flow of people that give you this example that you can do it. Yeah. And it's almost like Gwin did restart that cycle for the US market.
Definitely. But going back to this French, I mean, man, it's incredible. And then you got the two Elran,
the brothers
coming through. I mean, man, so fast and so smooth. It's amazing to watch, like just to see how calm they are and how relaxed they are and the times they're doing. It's going to be a good season. Good season ahead. Yeah.
So you had Gwin that came. Who came after that made you kind of change?
Loic Bruni, maybe.
Oh yeah. Another fast Frenchie. And a fun Frenchie. You know, he's the best Frenchie.
You know, the French always got a bad rap because they're so serious. You know, and they're great guys, but they're really focused on racing. You had you had Nicolas Villiers, who was like incredible.
Yeah,
but very focused on racing.
Yeah.
You had Cedric Gracia, a little bit more focused
on the
after
other side.
Race.
Yeah.
But there was no one quite in the middle.
Yeah,
and then you had like Loic, who was just a great guy, great racer, super detailed, focused, and those guys put together a good program. I mean, his whole team around him have been with him for quite some time. and they've really, worked well together.
Yeah. It's funny. We went out to dinner, it would have been a couple of years ago, and it was my wife and then his partner, and we left the dinner, and my wife's like, I don't really like French people, but he was lovely. She was like so surprised that he was French.
Yeah.
Because he literally is the nicest
He's a great
nicest guy. Yeah.
Yeah, he is.
Fully broke the mold. Because I remember, the Nico Foulios days riding was he riding Lapierre back then? What was he riding?
So
he had the Boss Forks.
So Nico was on Sun,
okay.
which pretty much has become Commensal over time. Max Commensal was at Sun and he's moved, to start his own brand. And then he went on to make his own, like in the early 2000s, there wasn't a lot of money in downhill. And so you had guys like Nico going back to making his own program with his own bike, the V Process.
That's what it was, V Process.
And then, Peat going back to create his own team. So there were no factory teams for a few years. It was quite a low in downhill through the early 2000s. So, Nico went there and then he went to Lapierre. He's now actually working with Loic. So he's back into it. It was good to see him in South Korea. And I bumped into him last year. And Nico was just they used to call him ET. He was impressive. Like the way he could turn things up for a world championship was just next level. But so detailed. I mean, he was one of those guys that knew if someone had put in the time, he knew exactly where to find that time and what he could do. I wasn't one of those. I'd hate to listen to the time. I just didn't want to know because I didn't know what I could do until it was done.
Yeah. He was, it's funny they call him ET because he kind of was an alien. He was just out there on his own, own bikes, own suspension. Everything was different, full commitment to the skin suit, just so on his own and so focused on winning, and it seemed like nothing else. Yeah.
And Nico, he had obviously a good feel for things, but he was out testing all the time. He was running data on bikes back in the 90s, late 90s. So he's just, probably finished too soon as well, right? He retired at 26, I think. Young for mountain biking, I thought. Wow.
Why? Yeah. Well,
he went into rally.
Did he really?
Yeah. So he went and raced a WRC for a bit.
No way.
So he's a talented human being.
That's an interesting guy. I bet that he really, in terms of people's motivations, in terms of why they race, and I'm sure he has a very interesting philosophy around why he did what he did.
Yeah. And I'd love to hear it. I don't think it's been spoken about. But Nico, flip it. That was actually my first challenge. I was 19. I had to race Nico in my first World Cup overall. And we'd gone into the last race 18 points apart. And I had to beat him in the qualifying, the final. And I managed to find a line where I could ride an off-camber route onto this rock and straight line off this, I don't know, 1.5, 2 meter tall rock. But I was only one in the field that could do it. Everyone else had to zigzag around it. And so that was the gap I had on Nico. And I eventually won the World Cup that year. But that was he was the first guy I had to beat.
So you won that first one at 19?
At 19, yeah.
Yeah.
So it was I had I didn't have a lot of success in mountain biking as a junior. My best world championship was 6. So I wasn't really a great junior. And then got into elite and I finished, I think, 11th or 10th in the World Cup, my first year elite, and then won the World Cup. And it was so much easier to get there and it came so quick. And I always felt it's going to be way easier winning a world championship than a World Cup, it's just one race. You could have won the one race.
Yeah.
And then it happened. I won the World Cup and I was like, wow, that was, that was easy. But then the next year you just get humbled and it's nothing you do is right. And I think I finished the season with 1 podium. And
dude, no way.
Man, I need to go back to the drawing board, and I always found that in my career. It was way easier. Well, not way easier. It felt easier to win or get to the top but to stay there was so much harder. And I always went through these cycles where I'd have a great season and then I'd not as great a season. I could never really back it up. And that's what I feel like, maybe that's what kept me in downhill for so long, was I didn't have that, I didn't have a period where I dominated. I always had always had a good year, and then it would, maybe not a bad year, but I didn't go like win, 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 win. It was like win, second, third, second, win. It was wavy, and it kept it interesting. But it also made me really like dig deep to come back up.
What do you think? What do you remember? Do you want some more water, Rones? Can you get some more water?
Sorry.
There's a bottle under there. No, it's easy. What do you think that it was? Sorry. Was there something mentally, in a sense, that made it harder to stay on top? Like expectation, pressure in a way? Was there anything that you could think of that made it difficult when you look back on it?
Well, I don't know. I don't know if it's just like the added media, maybe a lack of attention through the off season, thinking like, oh wow, it's so easy to do that again. That was an easy year. But when you're winning things, it is easy, But when you're not winning, it's a lot harder. And I don't know what it was, but I think it's a cycle. All athletes go through cycles of, and it's one of those cycles that I went through quite a few times. But it was something that I felt really challenged by to come back, and I wanted to stay at the top, but I just didn't have those repeats. But I made sure I came back up.
We just spent over a month across Europe earlier this year, and it was carnage. A new city every few days, a different bed every night, eating wherever we could get it, and half the time I genuinely didn't know which day it was. We hit 5 major events and did 18 episodes of the podcast. One of the things that kept me going though was the scoop of AG1 in the morning. 80 ounces of cold water before anything else happened, and I was ready to take on the day. 75 plus ingredients in the new gen formula, clinically shown to support gut health and fill common nutrients gaps. I have it every morning on the road or at home, and that gut health bit is the real win for me, especially while traveling. Visit ag1.com/gypsytales and get a free AG1 flavor sampler and a free bottle of vitamin D3 plus K2 in your welcome kit with your first AG1 subscription order. That's drinkag1.com/gypsytales. So how do you even get there? So we were talking about you start riding a lot of mountain bikes, and then you are able to do it by yourself and you can put in the time. But when did the whole racing a World Cup, World Championship even come on your radar?
So I started racing the national series in South Africa. So we had 4 rounds of national races. I raced cross country and downhill. My sister actually was racing, and so I used to tag along and then started joining in. And I like watching sport, but I way prefer
doing sport. Yeah.
Like, go watch a Formula 1 race. Great. But I'd rather be driving than watching. These guys are having a great time, and I'm watching them have a great time. I prefer to be on it. So, that was kind of my thing. I'd go and ride. I'd, sort of watch. And then I raced cross country, raced downhill, favored downhill. It was a little bit closer with speed, and I had some skill from motocross, and it transferred really well. And then we had a World Cup come to South Africa in 1997, and I would have been 15, and UCI gave me a position to ride because I was a year too young. But being South African and I was one of the top junior riders at 15. They allowed me to race, and I ended up 51st. So that was quite cool. And I kind of got on the radar of some of some guys who really like scout and riders, Martin Whiteley and another Australian. And the World Cup came back to South Africa in 1998. So first year junior, I ended up 28th, and I'd beaten some decent riders. And Martin Whiteley came over and to my dad and said, hey, you need to get to Europe and do some racing. And that kind of opened up a door to be on a UCI African development program where the UCI they'd never given a medal out to any African riders in any discipline. Road cycling, BMX, mountain bike, yeah.
No way.
And Martin Whiteley was working at UCI and he created this opportunity for UCI to fund some of my racing. So my parents then went to remortgage their house, sent me to Europe to go and race. And I still had to pay to get to Europe and all this. And but then UCI would help me get around, get to some French Cups, get to all these different races. But it was so foreign. Like, I really struggled. And that was like, yeah, that was 97. And the big aim was to then go to World Championships and try and get a medal. And I went to World Championships and had a big crash and ended up nowhere. But I'd qualified 12th, so there was a bit of potential there. But without the UCI trying to support and help, it probably wouldn't have happened. I don't think my career would have taken off.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
The GOAT of downhill might just have never got there if the UCI didn't push to have an African rider get a medal.
And then that's all because of Martin Whiteley. I mean, he had seen some talent or something, and it worked out. But if it wasn't for that, it probably wouldn't have taken off.
Have you ever had conversations with him about it, like years down the track?
Yeah, we chatted a bit about it, but it's funny, funny to think. But man, we're bouncing around. My ADHD is just going all over the place, and I'm just thinking we go back to this like French Cup, and why the French so strong. And I remember like as we're going back to this, I was racing in French Cup, and I remember some of the guys I was racing with juniors coming going, where'd you end up, scratch? And I was like, scratch? What's scratch? And they go, no, scratch. So I was like, well, I think it was like third in juniors or something. And he goes, no, but what's your scratch result? So they didn't care about where you finished in your category. They wanted to know where you finished overall. And that's their scratch.
Right. And you didn't even know that.
Yeah, the French Cups, they don't care like where you finished in your category. They just want to know your scratch result. And that was the most important thing. And that's probably why these French are so strong.
Yeah, right.
Because from a young age when they, youth, they want to know where they finished scratch.
And so is that in relation to everybody?
Everyone.
Yeah, right.
The results of the day.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And that was just a massive thing to all those guys.
Well, I think you still go to French Cup now and they're not worried about their position in the category. They just want to know the scratch result. And I just remember going back to that. I was just thinking back to my first trip to France and racing in some little French ski resort. And guys going, what's your scratch result? And I was going, no idea what you're talking about.
Brother. Yeah. Dude,
that's probably what makes them so strong.
Yeah, yeah.
And have been strong since the start of downhill, I guess.
Yeah, and there's just such a heritage of guys that win from France. So you would just expect that if you can be at the top of that class, then you could be a guy that could win a world championship.
Well,
there's just such a clear,
right? You never you're not limited by winning your category. You want to be in the top 10 scratch in your youth, and you're racing against the
best.
Pirons, the Loris Vergers, the Loic Brunis.
That's why they get it done.
Maybe.
So
anyway, sorry about that.
No.
Drag out.
No, it's cool. So how hard was it to be away from home? You're so far on the other side of the world, and then you're in a place where you don't speak the language, and you know that your parents have had to remortgage the house. Like that's
I didn't know about that. My
you didn't
parents,
know about that?
They didn't tell me at the time.
Really?
No.
But it's still a lot of pressure.
Just floating along and trying to be the best I could. But it was so different back then. We didn't have internet. We didn't have WhatsApp. We had, no way to connect. So it was a lot harder. Like you'd physically have to dial an area code back to South Africa to make a call, which was pretty expensive at the time. And it was tricky. I mean, from being in Europe, trying to phone my mom to ask how to cook rice. I had no idea. And I'm stuck in this apartment trying to got some food, and I don't know what I was doing. It was hard. I mean, that to me was a period where I felt like, being in Europe is very different. And it's very far from home, and I'm not sure I can stay here.
Yeah, how close were you to going home?
Oh, very close. Yeah. It made it a lot easier when you're with a team and when you're with a bunch of people having a good time. And that was like my first experience into Europe was with the South African team going to race the World Championships in Switzerland. And, it felt easy. You were with people and you knew it was fun. The next time I went to Europe, I was on my own and I was like, well, this is not that fun. It's raining a lot.
Yeah, cold.
It's cold.
Yeah.
And
everyone talks weird.
You haven't spoken to someone in quite a few days, and every time you try to speak to someone, they don't understand what you're saying. So it was tricky. And back then, I mean, we just changed currencies every time we crossed borders. And then traveling with the South African passport itself was gnarly.
Oh, true.
Visas for everywhere. I mean, we weren't far out of we were pretty lucky, our era. I think there were some athletes prior to us that I don't know how they made it, with apartheid and everything else being sanctioned, as South Africans. It was really tricky. We were very fortunate. We just missed that.
Yeah, you don't even think about that.
Yeah.
That was like a whole thing for a whole generation of South African athletes.
And I believe there's some guys from motor racing that were unbelievably good.
But that never could make it.
Weren't allowed to travel. And then when they did, they were protested off the start line. We got some local heroes where, I've heard stories of Rod Gray, a road racer in South Africa. They'd fly out the best in the world to try and race them in South Africa, which then they'll go, well, you got a bit more experience on the track or whatever it was, but he could never race internationally. It's kind of sad.
Yeah.
Because there's probably some, a lot of athletes that battled through that era.
Yeah.
And we were lucky we had just missed that. And only by a couple of years.
Yeah, you don't even really think about that, eh?
Yeah.
Especially nowadays. But yeah, I mean, even no WhatsApp, no FaceTime, no Instagram. You couldn't send a picture, a photo. No. That's real isolation.
Yeah. It was a different era. I mean, photo shoots were amazing. It wasn't digital. It was all film. So you didn't have a photographer wasting time trying to snap 3,000 photos to pick the right one. He either got it or he didn't. So that, there were some pros and cons, but it was tricky. Traveling was different. Communicating was hard.
Yeah.
And then I kind of felt like growing up in that time, trying to get exposure was also hard because you had all the media was English. Well, that doesn't really explain a whole lot. You had the English media, you had the American media.
Yeah.
And they would all focus on the American riders or the English riders. And then you had the European media houses and they'd focus on their riders. But there was nothing really for South Africans, Australians, Kiwis. And so then you had to try and get into that kind of scene. So it's really hard to get the exposure as a foreign rider. Where nowadays, a rider gets a good result, you just go on the Instagram and you can see everything.
Yeah, and you can promote yourself essentially.
Promote yourself, yeah.
Yeah. It also probably makes sense why that era partied a bit harder and kind of stuck together, because it's kind of like an outlet, right? When you're by yourself and you're doing you're just sitting in an apartment in France by yourself, you don't know how to cook rice, you don't know how to do anything, and then you get a group of expats that are all kind of in the same boat. It kind of makes sense that they gravitate together, and it's all not like drink
someone
away
told
your
you stories.
Oh, maybe.
I feel like someone's told you a few stories.
But that's what the scene was. You just have to watch Mud Cows to see the parties back then, but you kind of would and I know that from when I moved to America in 2010, I had no friends other than the people that I would go to the races with. And we would do Supercross, and I was a filmmaker. So you would go, you would do your work, and then you just sit in your hotel by yourself with nobody. It was kind of the same. It's kind of the same deal, but generations later, I mean, I could FaceTime my parents, and I could, I could send photos, and I could have conversations. But if you go back to that era, what else? are you going to do? Like there's this kind of a sense of camaraderie and a kind of not drink away your sorrows, but like you kind of do in a sense, you know?
Yeah, I feel like someone's told you. I remember being at World Champs in Spain, and I was on an English team.
Yeah.
And I'm orange.
Was it orange? Yeah.
And
the 222, baby.
Oh, yeah.
Single pivot, fucking sounded like a toolbox.
It did. And we go to World Champs, so the South African team arrive. And there's Andrew Neethling, a few other guys, and I'm like so homesick. And just to hear a South African, I was like, I'd won some prize money, I had a bit of cash. I was like, we go to the pub. And I took these guys, they must have been juniors. I didn't even know how old, no, I don't know. Anyway, we just have a hell of a night, opening ceremony, and I was just excited to see South Africans, and I just kept going and going. Didn't want the night to end.
Yeah.
And eventually I was like, well, this is a late night, and we got practice in the morning. We got training. And so now I'm trying to find the hotel. So I walk down this big mountain road, and I've got this dog following me, and I get down to the bottom, and I'm like, gee, can't find the hotel. So then I walk back up the road, looking for this hotel, can't find it. I end up like at the village, at the ski resort. And so I'm like, damn. So I walk back down, can't find a hotel. So I'm like, well, there's a team truck. So I break into the team truck and I sleep in the truck for the night. And I wake up in the morning and the team's ready to go training, and I'm just lying there going, oh, I still got to find the hotel, get my gear, get back down for training. And that's how it was back then.
Dude, that's living though. Like that's such a cool part of the story, because now, I mean, Jackson Goldstone's never going to experience that, you know, and it's like, you could say that's good, you could say it, but that's such a unique part of the experience that all of you guys lived, you know. And I mean, even, you know, for Jack and Ruby, like we stayed up there the other day, and it's like, you just feel so stoked to have another Australian around. And I feel like that in America, like the boys come and stay with me. I'll be over there, just me and my wife, and we're around a bunch of Americans, and God bless them, like, amazing. But then when a couple Aussies roll in and it's the same jokes and it's the same accents and dialect and the way that you talk, and this, you start throwing around some liquors and some brews, and there is a feeling of home in that. You would feel that now with Brad and those boys, you know?
Yeah. I was with Brad last night and his father-in-law, and it's easy, you know, you got the same jokes, same sense of humor. Yeah, it does make it a little bit easier.
Yeah. And then you get the Aussies that come and they're in the same boat, and the New Zealanders, they're in the same boat. You kind of just gravitate towards each other, you know.
Yeah,
it's a cool time, and that is gone now, to a sense.
Definitely. I mean, it's especially mountain bike. It's got way more professional, which is it's a good thing. Yeah. But I think there's an element of it where you still got to have a good time and some fun. Yeah. And to really switch on, you've got to be able to switch off as well. And to me, that was important.
So you get through that time.
Yeah.
And then you second year win the World Cup. So then the ball really starts to roll. Like what's I guess the tipping point where you're like, all right, I'm doing it. I'm here. I'm not going home. I'm in. We're making it happen.
It was probably the first year elite when I got into Animal Orange. It was like I wasn't fully professional. I had to still get to the UK, and then everything was covered. And so I'd make some bonus money, and I got some like allowance, which will go to like accommodation or whatever, where I was staying and stuff like that. So I wasn't making money, but everything was paid for.
Yep.
So to make money, I used to go work in the Animal factory. So Animal was like a clothing brand, and wallets and watch straps and stuff. So I used to go and tag all the clothing, put all the pricing on. So I'd go work the factory in the morning, and then go and train in the afternoon, and then go away for some racing. And so I was earning bonus money, and I made some money. I made some good money that year. And that was kind of where I was like, I had a good team, some great teammates.
Yeah, who was that? It was McCarroll. Was it Global Orange then, or was it the one before that? No, it was one before. Yeah.
So it was Animal. So I had Tim Ponting, great UK rider, Steve Gill, Robin Kitchen. Steve Gill was a great dirt jumper, and that just like, to me, jumping bikes, motorbikes, bicycles was my thing. I used to love it. I spent hours digging and jumping and carrying on. And so that year was a lot of fun, hanging out with Steve Gill and dirt jumping all the time, and racing with the team. made it a lot easier. It was fun. I had a good time. And probably that's when I was like, now we're going somewhere. And something that I can handle.
Yeah. So then it goes to the global orange, right? So to me, that was one of the really cool first teams. Again, that was really my era. You had Intense with the M1, and then you had Orange with the 222.
Yeah.
So that to me is almost in my mind when downhill really started. It seemed like things before that was just like very piece and shit together. The bikes weren't that good, but it seemed like the industry then was like really, there was like a downhill industry starting to happen.
Yeah, I think like probably through the mid 90s, you had like GT had this massive team.
Yeah.
Sun had a big
had the
team.
iDrive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it kind of died off a little bit, but that was mainly America. Europe was kind of growing into racing, I guess. And then global racing came along, put this crazy team with riders from each part of the globe.
So that was the whole concept behind it.
That was the whole concept. So I guess being an African was one of the pieces that needs to be put together.
Yeah.
And I managed to stay with Orange, so a bike that I had pretty good season on. I had my first, 2 top 5s the season before. And so I was able to continue on the same bike and kind of bring them over into global racing. And there was a team set up by Martin Whiteley. So he had left the UCI now and set up this team. And it was great. I mean, I won the World Cup. It was a great year, but the team only lasted 2 years, and then we had that big recession, global recession after that, and a lot of teams disappeared.
So who was it? Was you? Mick Hanna was on that. McCarroll was
Sean
on that.
McCarroll.
Yeah.
We had Naoki Idegawa, Japanese rider.
Yeah.
Daisaku Kaneko, another Japanese rider.
Yeah.
Missy Giovi, big name in women's racing.
Yeah.
Marielle Sana, Swiss.
That's a
rider.
big team.
It was big. It was really big.
So how were those?
Markov Berthold, Brazilian rider.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So how were those bikes? Because I had an Intense M1 back then.
Yeah.
I bought it was one of, I think it was like Ronning's old bike that then went to Adam Hunter from Cairns.
Yeah.
And then I bought it, $1,500, saved up, fucking worked hard to get that thing, cracked the frame like 30 times.
Yeah, because Mike was Intense rider through 2000, or 99, 2000.
But I feel like that era, I mean, I guess Santa Cruz was around then, but yeah, those.
Not really though.
Yeah, they were kind of, it was early for them, eh? Who else?
Well, you had Johnny Waddell, and they were on the Sunray Santa Cruz team.
Yeah.
But it wasn't really I don't know what bike it was. I can't really remember the bike, but it was pre-Santa Cruz.
Yeah.
What it is now.
Yeah. But I remember you, like, an Intense was the one to be on, or Orange. And at least in Australia, Orange was massive because you had Ricky Boyer that was like really pushing the Orange. And then you had Nick there.
Complete opposite bikes.
Literally.
Totally opposite.
Yeah. So what was your experience? Because I never owned one and I always wanted one, but I had the Intense, which was the 4-bar linkage.
Yeah.
Then you had the Orange was just straight single pivot. Like, was that
like a little bit of adjustment? You could adjust the head angle, bottom bracket, all in one kind of adjustment. The Orange, I think, was good for its time. I think it was simple. I think it simplified things a bit. As it progressed, I kind of, I was on the bike for 3 years, so 2000, 2001, 2002. And then I went to basically an M1 on Haro.
That it was an
So
M1,
I went from, polar opposite bikes. But, I think the bike was good for its time. I think the tracks were maybe a little pedalier. Bike pedaled well, it was light.
Yeah.
And so those were the benefits to it. They try to go along as the bike went longer and a bit bigger, right? I kind of fell off the back a bit. And so to me it was, as soon as that bike progressed, I struggled on it. I was just thinking back, like we ended that 2001 year, won the World Cup, beat Nicolas Vullier. And
at 19.
At 19. And so they've set up a race in France, really technical track. And the poster for the event was Nico and I. So it's like, who really is the best rider in the world right now? And I was like, well, this is a hell of a race. And so now we're trying to test a new orange bike, a little bit longer, on this track. Track was super gnarly, like really technical. And I'm going back and forth on the bikes because I wasn't really feeling comfortable on a bigger bike. And then I crashed in practice. And I was riding with a friend, Dave Vasquez, and I was like, sure, I think I've broken my collarbone. So I said to David, I think I've broken my collarbone. And he like looks at me, turns around and just pedals off down the hill. And I'm like, what? And I look and my shoulder's sitting in my chest. And I'm like, so, you know, like, I don't know, I always felt like when I had like a really serious injury, it wasn't super painful, like your body kind of masked it. So I was like, I just kind of got comfortable. I was holding my arm in front and walked to the side of the track, and I'm just sit there, and medic comes in, or marshal comes in, and they have a look and they're like, oh, we need to put your shoulder back in, it's dislocated. So I was like, okay. And so I've got this guy with his foot on my chest, pulling my arm, and I've got a guy sitting behind me holding my body, and this shoulder's not going anywhere.
Was it your first one?
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't go back in.
And so it's just like my arm's in front of me and this guy's just yanking on it. And eventually I was just push this guy away. I was like, no, I'll wait for like the doctor to come. So they called this doctor, and it took a bit of time. Doctor came, gave me some good drugs, and he just went in, shoulder back in. But then I had 3-month recovery, badly dislocated shoulder.
Did you have to get surgery?
So I didn't. And so all the way through my like early 20s, I had this shoulder dislocating all the time. Lost a lot of races. I remember in Canada, Sam Hill winning the race. I was coming down to the last section, shoulder dislocates, it goes out, and I'm like, oh, damn. So I start like swinging it to try to get it back in, and I can't. So I'm like really like shaking this thing. So I pull off the track, and as I relax, like pull off the track to pull out the race, shoulder goes back in. So I turn back on and keep racing down, finish second. So that happened
way.
That happened. It happened all the way through to like 2007. World Championships. I'm on Honda, and we just got news that the team's going to dissolve at the end of the season. Honda, we're finished with this project. So a bit of pressure. World Champs, last race of the year. And by then I was like running this like strapping to try and keep my shoulder in. It had got quite bad. I'd done like in the beginning of the season, I'd gone into what do you call those indoor enduro? What are they called? Billy Bolt stuff.
Oh, like a hard enduro type of thing? A enduro cross. Yeah.
So in the beginning of that year, I'd entered into like a local enduro cross.
Makes
event.
sense.
Yeah. And I was like, I felt good. I mean, I had a great qualifier. I was like in the mix, like I could win it. And so in the first race, I was second. I was coming second, and I hit this, getting lost here. Been thinking about that. Can I grab some more water while I'm thinking about this one? Get it right. My brain keeps bouncing between stuff. This ADHD is like sending me all over.
I'm right there with you. Have you ever got medication for it?
Yeah. I just started last year.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Thanks.
Isn't it insane the difference that it makes?
I promise you, I think I haven't been married long, but I think I'd be divorced if I wasn't on medication.
Dude, the funniest thing, so my wife, she...
Thank you.
It's random sidebar conversation. We got separated through COVID. And so we had like almost 2 years where we just had to fucking make it work.
Yeah.
But so anyway, she's Russian. So the visa process, it was a fucking nightmare. The whole thing was just the worst. So she ends up coming to, when she finally got the visa, moved in with me in Australia. It was like a weekend, and I'm folding clothes and putting it in my cupboard. And I'm just like stopped breathing while I was doing this shit. And she's like, dude, your ADD is so much worse than I thought, And I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, you haven't taken a fucking breath for like 2 minutes and all you're doing is folding clothes. What were you thinking about? And I'm like, I was thinking about this, and I was thinking about this, and I was thinking about this, and I was thinking about this. And she's like, dude, all right, let's get you some help. Because I was on medication when I was a kid.
Right.
At school, but it was like pretty traumatic with like kids teasing you about that shit, so I just didn't want to take it, had a very negative view. But yeah, probably 2 years ago I started got medication again, and it fucking
What are
game
you on?
changer. Adderall.
Oh, okay, yeah.
What do you take?
Vyvanse?
Vyvanse, yeah. I haven't tried that
It's
yet.
been life-changing for me. Like,
Really?
Man, yeah.
When do you, like, how often do you take it?
Every day.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, and I like in the beginning, I wouldn't take medication on the weekends.
Yep.
And now I'm just like, no, bugger it.
Yeah.
It's just so much easier.
Yeah,
I can
okay.
relax. I can like get stuff done.
Yeah. How does it feel for you? Like if you're not on it?
I've, I was 43, 42 when I
Started.
started. So
Yeah.
it wasn't very, but it to me, it was like a lot of stress. The day would just fly by and a lot of stuff just not finished. A lot of stuff started.
A lot of stuff started and nothing finished.
Just everything was just like flat out, just full pace all the time. And it probably still is, but it's just a little bit more organized. Taking on the team and directing that, it highlights it quite quickly. I think through sport and being able to go train and go to, you had like a process, a little bit easier to follow.
Yeah.
Whereas now I had to be organized and that just, I struggled. Man, I struggled. So I wish that I had
Done it sooner.
been medicated a bit sooner, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I got to the point where the podcast gets bigger.
Yeah.
You've got multiple employees. You got a lot of money coming in, a lot of money going out, and like a lot relative. But,
Sure.
in terms of my life, a lot go in, a lot go out. There's a lot to manage. Like it's just the stress of not being able to stay on task, procrastinate. Like, I mean,
Procrastination.
dude,
Wow.
even that, and I actually I don't take it as much as I should, to be completely honest. I take it, I call it like an office day.
Yeah.
So the biggest thing I struggle with is like really just like, okay, you need to sit down, you need to book all these flights, you need to book the hotels, you need to do all that shit.
Yeah.
So I don't take it daily because I struggle to sleep.
Oh, yeah.
Like bad.
Yeah. I still struggle sleeping, but
You think the trade-off's worth it?
yeah, like the processing, I won't, I'll like kind of organize my life a little bit in the mornings, have a coffee, kind of settle in and then
Yeah.
have some food, take my medicine, and then I'll deal with stuff that I need to like process
Yeah.
because the processing to me was out. So like I'd have a lot of anxiety and stress prior being medicated. And I felt like now I'm able to just process stuff a bit better, file stuff mentally. And I reckon I probably would have enjoyed racing more.
How so?
I feel like it wouldn't have affected my results, but I think the process to get in there, I was really under a lot of pressure internally trying to get to the start line. And like, I think I would have enjoyed it a bit more if I was medicated racing.
Yeah.
I don't feel like now I've got this like superhuman focus now that I think, we're able, with ADHD, you're able to hyperfocus.
Yep.
But it's that time prior to that where it's a bit mixed up and the mental filing of things is tricky. And so, yeah, it's been amazing for me. Big life change.
So one of the things that I noticed straight away, and did you look into much of like what an ADHD brain, like what's actually going on at the level of the brain when you were kind of going through the process of getting medication?
I did a bit. The only reason I ended up choosing the medication route was listening to a Stephen Bartlett podcast with a neuroscientist.
Yep.
He was going through it and he was saying like, and I never take medication. And I didn't think always being medicated is the right route. I'm not a big believer of that. But when he was just saying, this neuroscientist was just going on about the pros versus the con, versus con on being medicated versus not, you're probably better off just taking the medication.
Yeah.
Because it just makes such a difference.
Yeah, for me, one of the things that I noticed, and this is probably a way to explain it to people that if you don't have it or if you don't even know that you have it, but like I feel like a normal brain goes, I need to book some flights. And then you're like, cool. And then you go and you book the flights and then you feel good after it.
Yeah.
It's like a box ticked.
Sure.
Whereas I just don't get that. Like I wouldn't get any kind of good, positive, like dopamine response from doing those small tasks. For me, I needed like extreme things to give me any type of positive feeling, like it's like the ends of the spectrum to get a feeling of like dopamine is almost like a hug for your brain in a sense, like it makes you feel good. So for me, I would need like a fucking podcast with Eli Tomac, or I would need to go and do a crazy ride or go on an adventure, or when I was younger, it was like fucking chicks. And, you know, I would need these like extreme things to make me feel good.
Yeah.
And then but that's kind of what happens in a ADHD brain is it's like dopamine deficient in certain areas.
Yeah.
But then, dude, like to fucking take Adderall and then clean my office feels unbelievable. Like I actually feel good from here's a task that I have to do, and then I do it and I'm like, sweet, I actually get some, I don't need these extreme things in my life to get a positive reaction.
Sure.
And I think that's why it feels like, I think that's why a lot of athletes have, or a lot of athletes have ADHD in a sense, is because you need these extremes. You need these high highs to feel almost anything. Nothing else, nothing normal, quote unquote, feels like anything. So you need to be riding 300 kilometers an hour. You need something super extreme to even get any kind of positivity. So it's like, it's almost an asset in some ways as an athlete, but then, the process, you just struggle to follow a process.
Book a flight. So then you get to your computer, you decide you're going to make a coffee, you walk downstairs, then you see a ball, you go kick the ball, then you phone your mates, then you go back up to the computer, forget why you gone back to the computer, and then you remember you've got the coffee store to go. So you go back downstairs and then you do something else, and then you make the coffee and you go back up, and then you've completely forgotten to do the flight, and you start chatting to a mate and then go for a ride.
Dude, how many times?
I didn't realize how much I struggled until I got medicated. I started off on like a minor dosage, and it makes a world of difference. The stuff that I needed to get done in the week was done, and didn't get dragged out to the second week. And you know, it affects your emotions too. You know, when you're not ticking boxes, it makes it hard.
Yeah, you get such a level of stress that gets built up, and then you kind of feel like there's something wrong with you. Like, why can't I do this? It's so simple. Like, why do I have all of these problems that are a result of stupid shit? You know,
and not everyone in the world's so open about ADHD, and it's got quite a stigma, which is tough. You know, it's there's not neurodiversity is not a big deal as some people, or maybe it's just not understood as well in some countries as it is in others. And I'm pretty thankful to be in a place where it's a little bit more open, because some places in Europe are still quite close to it. But to me, just it's like this filing process mentally, and you're dealing with emotions and different things, and it just makes it so much simpler.
How many times have you opened your phone and forgot why you opened your phone?
Oh, plenty. So that's why I decided, until I've taken my medication for the day, I try and just keep things quite simple till then.
Yeah. So you're at the enduro cross. No, it's cool to talk about though, eh? Like, I mean, it's
for sure.
Not many people.
I'm pretty open about it. To me, it was not a huge surprise that I was diagnosed with it, but it also came as like, oh wow, like I'd been diagnosed prior to finally doing something about it, and I didn't know a lot about it. The more I read up about it, the more I understood and made a lot of sense to me. And then took it, because initially they kind of medicated me for more like depression, and I was depressed. And I just, it was hard. Like the medication was terrible. Like,
so you were on like an SSRI?
Huh?
Oh, like what was the name of the?
I can't remember.
Yeah, it's like serotonin something inhibitor or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. And I was like, this is not what the problem is. And they're trying to treat some of the symptoms created by the ADHD.
Yeah.
Rather than treating the cause. And so when I finally went to the specialist, he was like, well, this is quite simple. This is actually what you've got. So I was quite anti digging into the medication side of it because of my experience prior. But I think there was just a bad diagnosis.
Yeah, misdiagnosis. Yeah, I should try Vyvanse because the Adderall's like, it's almost too strong. I mean, I take a quarter of what they prescribe me because I just can't. It's a little bit too much. Like I feel very sensitive to it.
Yeah.
But I think that maybe when I go back, I should try that because
I guess there's different types of ADHD.
There's so many different types.
Yeah. And you know, I don't know all the different strains and how it all works, but basically the basics of it is blood flow, right, to your brain, to different parts of your brain.
Yeah.
And so it's a stimulant to force the blood flow to these parts of your brain that help you file, process, and go through different things. So it's like, to me, it was like if I have a coffee or caffeine, I'd be able to like focus and work into stuff. And this was one of the things where, you know, I could actually not drink as much coffee during the day and stay on top of things to focus. So I think to me it's been positive.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that. So I would have, and this is probably why I don't sleep, because I also love coffee. Love coffee. So I get up in the morning and I don't do anything until I have a coffee because my brain works better on coffee. And so I would have a coffee and then at 6:30 I write in my journal. That helps a lot. Do you ever write in a journal?
No.
Dude.
I'm not a big reader or writer.
Man, don't even read it. Just write it.
I'm not big at reading, not big at writing.
I get up every single day, make a coffee, and I just write a full page.
Yeah.
No full stops, no paragraphs. I don't give a fuck. It's a full on brain dump of just whatever's going on in my mind, in my life, and I have a coffee, and the relaxation that I feel after like even at Jack's the other day, they're watching TV, Rones is work, and I just was like, I literally need to do it. That it feels that good to just dump everything out.
Have you always done that?
I've done it a lot through my life, but in the last probably 3 or 4 years, I've gotten extremely consistent. Like I'll show you after. Just it's it's just so helpful to me to just dump everything because I don't take medication every day. So I feel like I do other things to kind of help. But yeah, coffee at 6, write in my journal. I feel like crazy relaxed after I do that. And then I'll have another coffee at 10 and another coffee at 2:30. And it's just like a routine. But I think that's why I struggle because I'm so into the process of making coffee. I love coffee so much that if I take medication in the morning, I find it so hard not to stick to that coffee and then I can't fucking sleep. But before, like back in the day, it would be like coffee, weed. Like I'm just, just all over the place, just trying to just keep where like a bit of a sweet spot for my brain where I can fucking operate. You know?
If I had to deal with something like a sponsor or something, I'd need to have a coffee prior. Whereas now I can just deal with it. It's just way easier.
If you ride, you already know how important it is to have the right gear and parts when you need them. That's where motorsport.com comes in. It's your one-stop shop for everything motocross and off-road. Whether you're looking for OEM parts, fresh riding gear, or upgrading your setup, they carry all the top brands so you're not wasting time bouncing between different sites trying to piece it all together. It's all in one place, easy to find and ready to ship. And the best part is it is built for riders. Whether you're at the track every weekend or just getting laps in when you can, motorsport.com makes it easy to get exactly what you need without the hassle. No guessing, no digging around, just the parts and gear you trust all in one spot. Next time you need to dial in your bike or refresh your gear, head over to motorsport.com and get back to doing what matters most, and that's riding. 07, you're in the Enduro Cross. You qualify.
It must have been like a January or February.
Yep.
Quite early in the year.
Yep.
So mountain bike season starts in April. And so I think I had a good qualifier or something. We're getting to the first race and I'm leading the first heat. Get into this little rock section and I drop the bike. Get tangled a bit, drop the bike, and a rock hits my left wrist as the bike drops and shoulder dislocates. And I was like, oh shit. So I give it a few swings, put it back in, and off I go. Because I knew I had the pace. I was quick. And I get it back into second place and about to make a pass over a big log. and shoulder comes out again. So I'm like, oh, get back in, keep going again, get back into second, and shoulder dislocates again. But this time it like didn't really go back in that easily. So it took a bit of time to get back in. I got on track, and then I just hit like a small little bump, shoulder came out. And I was like, well, there we go. Peel off the track, park the bike. It was on a Saturday. I watched the rest of the racing. Monday, go to the doctor. I'm like, I've just dislocated my shoulder quite a few times. We need to have a look at this. And he goes, well, we need to have surgery. I'm going, well, I've got a mountain bike season in like 8 weeks. He's like, no, you need like a 3-month recovery, and you're going to have to do it properly. And I was like, well, I don't have the time. He goes, well, you're just going to have to try strengthen it. So I start the season with like a really bad shoulder, and kind of make it through until this World Champs at the end of the season, and Sam Hill Era, Fort William, track that I had some good success on, and I was up for this World Champs, and got this like strapping where like it's around my bicep, around my chest, and it's kind of this external kind of cord holding my shoulder from dislocating. And I get into the woods, it's muddy obviously in Scotland, and I've got 2 really good splits, and front wheel drops, and I go over the bars. But now I've got all the strapping, so like I can feel something's not right, so I'm like scrambling, grabbing the bike. So I'm like, when I'm in a race, you go to the finish line. That's, doesn't matter what happens, you can crash, you can do whatever it is, you've got to get to the finish line. And so I pick everything up, get going again, I'm like going for it. I get down to the bottom, and I miss out on the podium. I'm in 4th place, and I'm like a little bit gutted, and I'm walking out the like finish area, and a friend of mine comes and pats me on the back. He's like, oh, bad luck. And I was like, yeah, cool. He goes, well, there's a bit of a problem. So I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, you got like a bone sticking out your back. So like, sticking out. He goes, well, it's not out, but it's like there's an issue there. So I like go back to the pits, and I'm trying to like get my like gear off, and my scapula is like flaring, like a fin. I was like, that's a bit odd. So go to the medics and go to the hospital, and they go, oh, you've your shoulder's dislocated, and you've broken the scapula. So I was like, okay, cool. Well, it's definitely exterior, because if it's dislocated posterior, I can put it back in myself, and obviously it's gone the opposite way, and I can't feel it or can't see it, or don't really know what's going on. So they're like, no, it's definitely dislocated the other way. And I'm going, well, no, it's not. We're having a bit of an argument with this doctor. And so now we have to wait for a specialist from Inverness to come through. And it's like my final team dinner. And I know it's like this big night. And so anyway, they try to put it back in. Shoulder wouldn't go back in because they're trying to put it in the wrong way.
The other way.
And the specialist comes, agrees with me. And I was like, yeah, half medical degree here. Put the shoulder back in. But it took some time. And, I couldn't go under. I was like, just give me something to just take, numb the pain a bit, but I can't go under because I need to get to this team dinner. Like the team's about to, fold, and I need to get to the dinner, and there's a bit of a party and stuff. So just give me whatever it takes. And they're like, oh, so they give us a little like cylinder to suck on, and in goes my shoulder, and back to team dinner. But that was it. That was an end of like an injury that I'd had. Now, the injury was so far gone. Yeah. My shoulder was completely destroyed. And so I had to like get the rotator cuff fixed up, all the tendons reattached. And so end of that 2007 season was, not only the end of the Honda, but, I had to go and like get the shoulder fixed. But there was kind of I'd met Rob Roscop at the following World Cup, because I was there all strapped up, and I was trying to watch a race, and Rob owned Santa Cruz bikes.
Yep.
And I ended up having a few beers with Rob watching the race, and we got on quite well. And, I didn't have a team for the following season. I now have this like unknown injury of how badly destroyed my shoulder was. And Rob kind of gave me this chance and was like, come to the Syndicate, it'll be really great. And I managed to get my shoulder fixed. And 2008 was then another great year. But it was, it's a little bit unknown. Back then, surgeries, I always thought back, like when I came to the end of my career, I was thinking back to like times in my career where things could have been done differently. But in 2007, there wasn't really a great fix for a shoulder that was dislocating, and until I'd bumped into Gareth Swanepoel, who had said that he had had his shoulder fixed by a doctor in South Africa. There was no one that I'd heard of that had a successful shoulder surgery. So, it could have changed and had more wins through that period of my prime, maybe, but there wasn't a fix for the shoulder back then.
And if you did it, it might not have extended your career in the way that it did, because you wait long enough for this new technology and new surgeries.
Yep.
So it's like maybe in the short term you could have won more races,
yep.
but in the long term you would have ended up with a worse shoulder that would have stopped
there were loads of guys in motocross that were having shoulder surgery and then having to repeat the surgery over and over. And I think Gareth's been one of them.
Yep. Yeah, no, definitely. So it's wild that there is such a change in eras, right?
Yeah.
You go from this era of Honda, which is almost like a mythical, such like a mythical part of the sport, and then you go into the Santa Cruz Syndicate, which then was another mythical era of the sport. But let's go back to the Honda part. How did that even come about? Because that was pretty much the coolest shit that's ever happened at downhill.
And then that bike is still like, I pull it off the wall and it still looks like, wow, it's amazing.
You could race it today. Like,
you could pull it out and people will go like, wow, is this a new bike that's come out? And
yes.
Like, no, it's 20 years old or whatever it is. So that came about, my teammate from Global Racing, Naoki Degawa, was on Honda in Japan, helping develop the bike. We went to Canada to race and Naoki was there. So I went to go hang out with him and he had this bike and I had to have a sit on it. You're going to sit on it, right? And feel it out. And I was like, this bottom bracket seems a bit high, head angle's a bit steep. And they go, well, we want to race internationally next year. Would you be keen? I was like, well, I'll go for a test ride. So we go down to Laguna, which is not really the greatest downhill track, to test this bike. And I was like, well, if we're going to race this bike, we need to change a whole lot of stuff. And because the bike just wasn't, there was no ways you could race the bike that they originally had.
Really?
The bottom bracket was way out. There were, although like in mountain biking, we probably didn't have the technology. We had gone through like bottom bracket heights and some stuff like that you can easily manipulate a bike to get to race, and they'd kind of missed those points.
Yeah.
And so as soon as we did that, fork was way too flexible. Like the crowns weren't stiff enough at all. And so they were quite interested. They're going, well, is this all your feedback in like a couple runs?
Run, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, yeah, well, if you want to race this bike, that's what we need to do. And so they got to it and built it. And so the following year, I raced, did about 3-4 years on Honda.
So I remember reading articles about it at the time, and it was basically that it's so much easier to change geometry and different materials and things like that on a mountain bike than it is on a full-blown motocross bike. Was that really the genesis of the project, is that they used it as a testing vessel almost?
I think they did in some ways. Initially, it was just a project from one of the engineers inside. He loved, internally, he loved mountain bikes and wanted to build this mountain bike with a gearbox. And these two engineers just went on their own project. So it was very small internally. And then it grew, obviously, to quite a point where, I think they had quite a hard period in motorsport. The Formula One car. Yeah. I'm not sure what happened. I think they had 2 fuel tanks or something. And so they had all these different things going on internally, but the mountain bike was winning. And so I guess in Honda, it got bigger than initially thought it was going to be. And in the end, I think some people moved into some different positions. And when they wanted to retell it, they didn't really like that idea. But everyone who worked on the project was so passionate about it. And we had such a great crew. But just, when Honda kind of pulled the plug on it, to see these like grown men crying, it was sad. They had gone into like a new sport and
dominated
and created something really interesting. And then it just got squashed. But, we did test out stuff like it. We were testing out like carbon stanchion tubes on forks. And I think stuff that had gone to like MotoGP straight after. And so they were playing a little bit with different materials, but also brought like a a different level of testing equipment to mountain biking. You know, for me, that was like a great experience to you know, from the very first run on any kind of test week. Like in downhill, you've got to learn the track. You've got to know where you're going before you can start to push it.
Yep.
And so normally you learn the track before you start to test. But from the first run on the Honda, it was like, how was the handling? How was the braking? How was this? And so through that period, I did so much testing. It was really beneficial for my career and setting up bikes, but really, really cool period. And, you know, make the bike as stiff as possible to start off the testing and then work the bike backwards to soften it up and get the right handling, and then take that frame away and then build your race frame. It was Honda on it. They got some great stuff.
So how good in relative terms was that bicycle compared to anything else you'd ridden?
So I think like the bike had a little bit less travel than most other bikes at the time. And suspension was great. The problem was we had like two chains. So we had an external chain that ran the gearbox, and the internal gearbox had a chain. And so through all the coasting, and you did a lot of coasting on downhill. Through all the coasting, we had a bike that had too much drag. So we were trying to find ways through like electronic lockouts on the suspension to try and just gain back a bit of time that we knew we were going to lose through like a slower coasting bike.
So what did it do well?
What did it do well? It was light. It was quite a simple design, really. Pedaled well. It was just a good all-rounder, but maybe not, you know, but definitely did lack in coasting, where a traditional bike freewheel was just so much faster. So we lacked that. But from a technology side, we really pushed boundaries on like electronic lockouts back in that period. We've seen them come back more recently. And just trying to find different ways to, you know, get the bike to accelerate better.
How did it feel to win on that bike?
Oh, it was great. I mean, the first World Cup I rode, and on the Honda, we won it. And so then I was leading the World Cup overall, and then had to go back to America and race the national series there.
Yeah.
So it was cool. Like we had such a good team and so many good engineers around. It was great. It was a great period.
We went to Japan recently to what date? I wonder what date this will come out after the embargo. Yeah. So we went to ride the new 450.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So there's an all new 450. So Japan flew a bunch of us like media guys over to ride it, and we got to go inside the factory. We got to go inside the HRC workshop. We got to see his name's Engine Boy, and he's like he's like the head engine dude for CRF at Honda, and they had the bike on the dyno, or like just the engine on the dyno, and we're just doing all these dyno runs. And there's the one guy has done all of this chassis design since 2006 maybe, or 5 for the CR, then it was CRF. And what you said about seeing a grown man cry, that's how passionate they are.
Oh yeah.
Like, dude, Engine Boy is just so in love.
He was the frame guy.
Oh, I can't remember his name, honestly. But man, he's like a skinny kind of guy, glasses, sort of tallish guy.
Yeah.
And he has done all of the engine design. And man, like just seeing the 3D modeling, and like they would run flex tests that you could actually see on screen, and you could see like heat maps of where so like, have you seen all this?
What we're doing. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. So we'd have a heat map of the frame, and then just alter bits of the frame to then get the handling to be better. But we used the same team that were developing, I guess back then, was a CR 150. CRF 150.
Yeah. It would have been similar guys, I reckon.
And they're telling me how they would scale up a bike for the test rider, so it would be into scale of what they were trying to build, and then bring it back down to the CRF 150.
No way. Dude, that's insane.
And so the same test riders used to ride the downhill bike and give feedback as well, all the time.
Really? Yeah, so moto guys would test the downhill bike even. What a sick project to be involved in.
It was sick. Yeah.
Dude, cool, special time.
And just to keep one of the bikes, I mean, it's not often you get to do that. And I don't think there's many left. I believe there's maybe one in museum, and I've got the other. So that's cool.
That's special to have that.
But
thing.
When you get to work with a company like Honda and you get to see what goes in behind all these bikes and all the effort with all every single bolt in that downhill bike had a torque setting. And it was either an aluminium or it was titanium, depends on what handle we need for certain areas of the bike. Like when you see that level, it definitely changed things in mountain biking.
Yeah, did it change the sport overall?
It was, did it change it? I don't know.
But I could see that. So then you go on to Syndicate, and I'm sure that you bought a level of that with you to Syndicate.
Yeah.
That was probably different to what anybody else had ever done in mountain biking.
Yeah. And yeah, so after that, going into this like Syndicate, Rob was super into like developing but you're always going to clash with engineers. And in the mountain bike world, that ends up what, I could probably say that a bit smoother. The light's bright, yeah, right?
I know, it is a lot. My other studio's darker. Where, like normally it's grey and it's like a little bit cozier. This one is
I'm crampy.
It's a bit hard to it's a bit hard to deal with the white in this one. So yeah, the engineers versus mountain riders.
I always feel like there's going to be a clash, and maybe it's a communication thing. Maybe from a rider side, your communication skills aren't as smooth as they should be. But in the same time, if I was trying to build a bike and I was an engineer, I'd want to get the feedback from a rider, which is sometimes quite hard and is pretty tricky. But you're always going to have that clash, and I found that was a clash from Honda then into Syndicate, because you want to share this knowledge. It's great insight into how they develop bikes, but then you bumping heads with an engineer, and that was always hard. And that was something that Rob worked a lot on to try and smoothen, and because we were then developing carbon and going into a carbon downhill bike and carbon wheels and really pushing the boundaries with carbon. So it was important that we had a good working relationship with rider and engineer.
Yeah, it's so true, eh? It is really cool the level of care that a company like Honda does put in, eh? I mean, even for me, like I'm not the best rider by any stretch of the imagination. And every time I came in, 3 engineers asking for feedback on this and that, and I'm just like, you're asking the wrong fucking dude.
Was the bike good?
Amazing.
Was it?
Like actually amazing. I don't love the current bike. Like I have, you ride KTM 450A.
Well, it's just the easiest selling bike in South Africa.
Yep.
And so, well, I've got one year in Andorra, but I rode Yamaha for a long time.
Oh, did you?
That was like
what years?
Oh, 86 to.
So you're a big Yami guy.
Yeah, so I was like 86 to when Yamaha came out with the 80 with upside down fork, the inverted fork.
Yeah.
What was that like? Has it been?
What would that be? Find out when the
94, 93?
It would be around there. First upside down fork YZ80. Because it wasn't even 85 then. It was 80 back then.
It was 80s.
Yeah. What, have you ever owned a new Yamaha 450 or like a new, like the 4-stroke?
Not recently, no.
Yeah.
Recently it's all been KD.
That's my benchmark.
Right.
So the best bike for me right now is a Yamaha 450.
Okay.
And so I would compare what year? Huh? 93. Yeah, you were onto it. But yeah, so for me, Yamaha 450, that's the best 450 in my opinion right now. And so I would be benchmarking against that. And we're actually doing a giveaway. That'll be over by the time this is done. But I'm giving away one of those Honda 450. We just did a build on it.
Oh, nice.
And so in stock form.
Were you giving this away?
I have an electrolyte company.
Oh.
Yeah, I'll give you some before you leave, actually.
Would we have to enter a competition to win?
Nah, you can only do it in America.
Oh.
Yeah, but I think it's going to be over by the time this comes out, but we're giving it away. But so I got the stock one, and like I don't get paid by Honda. So I could just be as honest about it as I like,
Yeah.
And there was a ton of stuff that I would want to change to make that bike feel better.
Yeah.
So I feel like I know what I want from a bike in certain areas. Some stuff I can't feel at all, like engine mounts and like some guys can feel them straight away. To me, I can't. Like I can feel like a lot of the front end. So like the playing with the rake of the bike and like bar position and certain things like that really makes a difference to me. And the Honda was just like way out on the front end.
Yeah.
Like just, you could almost rely on the front wheel tucking. Like you'd have to just like get used to the feeling of that. Just not super stable, you know? And, but the motor
There's
was...
some riders that make it look really stable.
Well, they work really hard to make that bike look that stable. But this new one was just like insanely better. So much better than the last bike. I mean, I'd
So
have
what
one.
is the difference? Like geometry or?
Yeah, they did a lot of geometry stuff. Totally new frame, totally new swing arm. It's like 9 pounds lighter.
Yeah.
Overall, the bike. So you could feel, and that weight, that was my biggest feedback. So when I came in and they asked me, I was like, this, you can feel every single pound that they shaved off this bike, and that steering characteristic went away. But yeah, every time I went in, just like there with notes and suspension and this and that. And so it was just like, it's cool how on it they are, how serious they take the feedback, even from someone like me. Like they just wanted to know everything that they could. And there was no pushback. I mean, I'm sure the bike's already done, so it's not like they're developing, but they were very into it. They were very interested, and it just showed like the mentality of how they develop. Yeah, how they develop. Yeah. So when you go to Santa Cruz, how was the first iteration of the V10?
We're still running the V10s. So it was like 10 inches of travel.
Yeah.
And it worked well. Like we won the World Cup. Had a great year. Like to be side by side, like in a team with Peat. Steve. So my relationship with Steve went back to 2000. His wife was on Animal Orange when I was on Animal Orange.
Yeah, right.
So Steve used to be around an iPad all the time.
Yeah.
Chained to Adele, hanging out with Adele. And so I got to know Steve quite well. And so then to be teammates, and we always trained together. So it was like perfect teammate to have that, we're always quite open, like with each other when we'd go and train together on track. And, I'd be like, oh, well, that inside line's really not that good. The outside was way quicker if I was behind him. And he'd do the same to me. And we just got really well. And then to be on the same team, it just was like this new way of putting a team together where you've got two competitors.
Yeah.
And
two A riders.
Yeah. And they're working together to elevate the team. I mean, we had podiums where, and Nathan Rennie was on the team as well.
Yeah.
Josh was still a junior. So he hasn't,
Dude,
he was on the team.
What a team.
He was, yeah. So I remember Fort William, I had one, Steve was second or third, and Nathan was fourth or fifth, and we had three guys on the 5-man podium. I mean, that's incredible for a team. And then, Josh had grown up into the Syndicate, and then we had myself, Steve, and Josh. It was a strong team. But what made that team great was the foundation of the team. It wasn't, we weren't following one rider. It wasn't like, this is Steve's team and this is how we do things. It was like, this is a team, you go and race, but this is the foundation of the team. And it's so easy for teams to lose track of where they're going. It's so easy to follow the lead rider. But if you've got a platform that's established and it's good for all the riders, when that rider seems to dip, they've got something to rebound off. And I think that's important for a team. And that's what the Syndicate had. It had like a great foundation for a team, and the four riders or the three riders eventually who were on it, you could excel and do your thing, but the team was how things run, and that's the way it was.
And that was really unique at the time?
I think so. I think it's still quite unique for now. And
really?
And as you know, I moved to Norco and finished off my racing with Norco.
Yep.
And then took over directing the team, and that's what we're trying to establish as well. Just this like base of a team. So it's not like this rider's doing well and whatever they want or whatever we think makes that, Let me try to say that again.
Yeah, it's like you don't just follow the star. I think about Honda and Marquez.
Right.
You have Mark Marquez. I don't even know who the fuck was on the other. You know what I mean? Like, who else was it? I mean, it was Pedrosa. So that's a really good guy. But, you've got this one dude, all of the focus.
Yeah.
You know that guy's going to win. Whereas this was definitely a different philosophy. Yeah. I mean, even James Stewart and Kyle Chisholm. Like, that's all of these examples in motorsport of guys following the lead rider. That's where the development goes. That's where the time goes. But this was a very different philosophy.
It was.
That was like, we have all of these great riders. We're building a base, and then everyone gets to deviate a little bit from the base, but no one's making these wholesale changes to the bike unless everybody's on board.
And it then you can have two A riders, right? Because, it's, well, what separates is when the team starts to like focus more on one rider, then the other rider's not getting the attention, and they feel like they're not getting something that the other rider's getting.
Yep.
And then it starts to create conflict between the riders. And, it's hard. You're traveling all over the world to all these different places, trying to test, race. You don't get to choose your team or your teammates around you. So, it's like a forced relationship in a way, but to make it work and to make it harmonious, you need to have a good environment in the team.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's really important on the team now is to have this great base where each rider can excel, but it's the foundation of the team is the team. And we're not following one direction of one rider and trying to and follow them down a path. Because there's always going to be a lack of attention to the second rider.
Yeah, someone's always getting left behind.
Whereas if we choose to be the base, they can excel, come back, rebound. Because, in sport, you can have great years, you can have bad years. But if the team's got the foundation, it gives the rider the chance to rebound again.
Yeah, I think, Star's probably the best example of that in the moto world. It's like they've just got this phenomenal bike. And then you start to get this momentum of the team where riders want to go there.
Exactly.
And now it's, if you want to win a 250 Supercross championship, you have to go to Star. And Pro Circuit had that in the mid, the mid 20s. And so I think, and Syndicate probably has that. Like, obviously that's where Jackson went,
For sure. I guess it's a process of it.
A process of no,
I'm just so, my mouth is so dry.
No, that's right. Smash that water. We're good. So I want to talk.
Well, I was just about to go. Well, I'll tell you what I was saying.
Yeah. We got time, bro. We got nothing but time.
I'm always in a rush. I'm like rushing through. No, like what you were saying earlier about. Say what you last said.
Well, you get guys that basically they want to go there. Like Jackson went there. I'm sure Jackson could have gone to any team in the world. Maybe not Specialized. Loic might have had that one locked down. But I'm sure he went there because of what you, Petey, Rat Boy, all of you guys built over these years, to where it's like, that when you go there, you can win, and it's a winning team. It's not so much about like just the bike or whatever. Like, it's, you go there because that team wins.
Right. And so maybe that was my change in thought when, after finishing racing, to then building up a team.
Yep.
To make a team attractive is to build this exact thing. You have team environment, you have great sponsors, and you've got a great project that can win races.
Yeah.
And when you've got that, you make the team attractive, so then you can attract the best riders to it. And so that's been my mission in the last year and a half, is building out this team with Norco, and now Adidas have come on board.
Yeah, I was going to say, you guys got Adidas, which is huge.
Which is great. And, not only for our team, but for mountain biking in general. Like we've had no endemic sponsorship into downhill racing. And so it's a little bit bigger than just a team.
Yeah, no, it's massive.
I feel pretty privileged that they've come on board with us, and they see the vision that I've got with this team, and we were going to take it.
Man, you're onto such a good thing. And just, even like, we'll only just scratch the surface in this podcast, but just the wealth of knowledge of bike setup, of the industry itself, of racing, of pressure, of ups, of downs. Like, I would sign on your team for you.
Right.
Outside of everything else, like, it's so rare to have the best rider ever in the sport to have a team that you can go to and that is willing to just share all of this knowledge to make you win. I mean, that is the craziest asset that a young downhill racer can have.
For sure. I think it's so rewarding as an athlete, or as an ex-athlete.
Yeah.
Like, you've had all this time, and I had an extended career. I was very lucky. I've been very lucky in my career of racing, and you have this extended career, and then the opportunity to pass it over. It's also quite transitional because initially you don't want to, you can never force your opinion on someone else. And you can never say, this is the way I would have done it.
Yeah.
But when you've got a rider that's about to go into like a race where they're not feeling very confident, you can think back to what happened in these situations, and you can calm them down just by going, I know exactly what you're going through. You crash in every run in the mud because it's tricky. And this is where you need to be really confident, to just go a little bit slower because you're actually going too fast. So I've got the video. I can see what's going on. I understand mentally what's happening. Don't worry about it. Just slow down a little bit and you'll be fine. Just, you've got to have that level of confidence that to go faster, you need to go a little slower. And then they go and win and you go like, whoa, that was pretty cool. That's super rewarding.
Oh, and I bet the transition as well. I mean, you had such a long career, unusually long, like Kelly Slater level long, you know, and
I just didn't want to work.
Yeah, and man, fuck that.
It's been so hard, and I've spent so much time on a computer the last year and a half. I just keep telling everyone, just keep extending that career. It's way easier to go and win than it is to go and work.
I am one of the people lucky enough to say that motorcycles has given me everything. This is my dad, Peat. Like so many of you watching, I was given this love of two wheels by my father. My job has taken me to the other side of the world, which means riding together has become a much tougher task. This is where Destination Yamaha comes in. I flew Peat to the US for the last round of Supercross in Salt Lake City and told him to pack a helmet. I logged on to DestinationYamaha.com, picked the state and the type of bikes we wanted to ride, and landed on a 2-day trip with Grit Moto Adventures on the T700. This is the ultimate arrive and ride experience, and we spent 2 days riding hundreds of miles in the Utah backcountry.
Yeah, it's unreal, amazing, beautiful part of the world.
Winding dirt roads, through picturesque national parks, challenging climbs, and after over 50 years on two wheels, Peat finally got to ride through snow. These 2 days riding gave us more two-wheel memories that we'll never forget. They say it's about the journey, not the destination. And there is truth to that. But in this case, it was also about the destination. Destination Yamaha. So, but how, to be a professional athlete at the highest level of the sport though, you kind of have to be selfish. In your everyday life, you have to make things about you.
Well, I'm not going to admit to this right now because I know my wife's going to listen to this and then she's going to win every argument. But yeah, you have to be selfish. I'm sure there is.
Oh, it's fair. I think it's fair in that circumstance. I've got obviously a lot of friends that race, and one friend's racing at literally the highest level of racing, and I'm just like, bro, you need to embrace being selfish, because I think that it doesn't come natural, and I'm sure it doesn't feel good all of the time to feel selfish and to make decisions around you, but you know they're the ones that you need to make, right? So I'm sure as well, after all of those years of racing, it probably feels good to be able to like not be as selfish and to give to other riders.
Oh, for sure.
You know?
Oh man. Like I always say to the guys on the team, it's like, if I'd known what it was like to work on a team and to, I was always so appreciative to have mechanics and support, and but to understand the level of commitment and the hours that are put in behind, if I had known that, I'd have been way more emotional on any podium or winning any race than I was. It's long hours. It's the team put in big hours being there. And I've always understood that, but it's definitely, I always say to the riders, like, if you go work for your own team and then go and race, you'll appreciate it way more.
Yeah, but it's kind of their job to hide that shit from you.
It is. But at the same time, it's like there's probably like a process of an athlete where you do absolutely anything to become a professional rider, or to be on one of the bigger teams, or to be on a team. You'll sacrifice anything, and you get there, and then it's like, it's nice. You get a little sponsorship. You got the girlfriends or boyfriends or whatever it is, and you know, things are getting thrown at you. Bank balance is probably just increasing. You don't even know how much money you've got. It's all good. And then you start to get this like little bit of entitlement, and then things start to go the other way. And if you don't have anyone around you or any honest friends or teammates or anyone that can give you some, say, hey,
real advice
or just straighten you up a bit.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you've been a bit of a dick. Oh, probably was. You know, if you don't have that, I think you can get into like a spiral down, and then you kind of have the has-beens because they don't last long.
Yeah.
You know, no team will want them. They don't have the support anymore. They end up spiraling back down. And I think that's important to either read the room or to
have people in your
have
corner.
people that can give you some and appreciate it. You
Yeah.
know, it's not easy. And I think I was lucky to have people like that in my life because it does happen.
Yeah.
It's hard not to. I think it's a full circle of most athletes.
100%. Yeah. So,
But you've always got to sacrifice. Like there's always sacrifice back to trying to be the best. But it's when that little bit of entitlement comes in that you need a little bit of straightening out.
I always tell my friends that race and that go through it that you want to have the most ego possible on the bike.
Yeah.
And the least ego possible off the bike.
Right.
Like you really have to have that switch. And
That's well put.
And if you start having the same level of ego on the bike, because I'm not going to fucking crash. I'm not wearing a helmet on this training ride, dude. Are you serious? I'm the fucking best in the world. Yeah, bro, you are tripping. That ego is so necessary to be on a World Cup or a World Champs start line and be like, I'm the fucking best.
Yeah.
And I'm going to win this race. But then if you take that energy into the pits and your mechanic tells you we should do this, or someone says, and you say, I'm the fucking best, bro.
Yeah.
That energy starts to become toxic. And I always say to people, your ego is like a hammer. You can build a house with a hammer, or you can hit someone in the head with a hammer. Same tool, completely different outcomes. So you need to realize that it is a tool and you need to use it as a tool. You pick the hammer up and you put it down.
For sure.
And there's sometimes you need a drill. Sometimes you need Allen keys. Like you can't always use the hammer.
Yeah, that's it. I think you put it right. You need the ego, but only on the bike.
Yeah. And it's like I think that if you can realize that from a very early stage in your career, but I think that's in life in general, you know? I mean, it's probably more extreme in sport. And again, the ego, there's a certain level of ego in the selfish decisions that you have to make, you know? Like if you're a 21-year-old downhill racer and your chick wants to watch a fucking Love Island on Netflix and you want to get up and cycle at 6:30, you got to be like, yeah, we're not fucking doing that. And that's, if that causes an argument or if that, you're not for me. Like there's, you know, so there's these levels of ego that you kind of have to have in selfishness, but it's like really understanding the line of when it's too much and when it's not enough. That's, I think, the biggest challenge that an athlete faces.
I think so. And, you know, and I think that's where we've probably seen it in all sport.
For
Guys
sure.
come in, they like amazing athletes, talented, you know, and suddenly it goes slightly wrong, can't find a team, don't get the support, kind of spiral down, and has been. And maybe that's it. It's, yeah. Don't know where we're going with that.
So another question I want to ask you. I think we said it. So I had a friend, again, he's like, he's racing at the highest level and he had a good result on the weekend. And he's like, dude, he literally said to me, I need to figure my life out because that's a really good result and I didn't feel anything. Can you relate to that?
I've also had to go the other way. Where I've had a really bad result and I thought that I'd won the race.
So why?
I don't know. I got to lift back up to the top of the downhill and walk the track into the dark to try and figure. I thought I'd missed a section of track. And I think actually there was a timing issue and it was a bit of a smaller race, but still. But it happens, right? And sometimes you have that like event where you just excel and things go right and go, whoa, I'm in the mix. There's potential. And that's where you got to like break it down and go, you know, what are the positives? What kind of steps did I do to get there or what was it? And to me, if it's been done, you can do it again. You know.
Do you find, so when it comes to, you can get a good result and not feel anything about that result, is there?
There's got to be something in it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I wonder though if there's a point, at least for me in my life, when, because I think like running a business and trying to operate a business at a high level is kind of sport in a sense. Like
it's very similar.
I treat this like a sport, you know, like I want to be the best. I don't know who the fuck I'm racing, but it's like, it's just for me.
Yeah.
Like I try to do the best that I can. And, you know, I've had times where it's like you'll have a really big guest or you'll have a really big, and you don't feel like there's no joy, ecstatic. Like it stays pretty level, but I also feel like that's a good thing. It's like, because a result can happen and you can not feel great, or like you said, a shit result, and you can feel good about it. But I think that there's some wisdom in not attaching your happiness to the result, because they do come and they go. And it's, at least for me, like more about the process. And if I can enjoy, and if I can enjoy the process, like the steps that it takes to be good is the thing that I enjoy. Because sometimes you're good, sometimes you're not. Sometimes like someone's better than you on the day, even though you maxed out your potential. Like you should still be able to feel good about
like
your
you ever get
effort.
like pissed off, like with not getting, like to me, getting pissed off after a race where you haven't done well is kind of normal. Trying to figure out why you're pissed off is more the problem. Like, is it because you feel you deserve to be there, or because you've worked so hard that you're so pissed off you didn't get the result? Like, that's how I was. Like, if I had a result, or if I didn't get the result, I mean, I'd go back to the truck, and instead of having a few beers, I'd probably have a beer and then get on the bike and go for like a 2-hour ride and, you know, try and like really figure out why it went wrong or what it was I need to change. But I think it's,
Do you have?
Go back to your business.
Do you have any?
What did you say earlier? You said something about business. I was going to.
Well, it's like that. I guess it's just, to me, there's a process of like, there's no award, there's no best.
The process.
Yeah, I really enjoy the process. Like I stopped caring about how the result, because the result is money in the bank account, views, popularity, fame, whatever the fuck all the externals are that come from it. And there was a point where I just stopped caring about any of that. I stopped caring about what people thought. I mean, but again, you care about what people think, because if everybody hates what you do, then you're obviously doing something wrong. Yeah. But then, like, I can read 1,000 good comments, and I don't really feel good about the comments. You know, it's like, I guess what I'm trying to say is like the external things aren't what feels good. The thing that feels good is just doing a good job. Right. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. There's podcasts that I think are amazing that don't get a ton of views. There's podcasts that I don't think are amazing that get a ton of views. But it's more the everyday trying to get a little bit better. Like I find that to be more enjoyable.
As a pro athlete, it's like you get paid to train, and racing's what you do for fun.
Yeah, and it's like that.
Because then you've kind of ticked all the boxes. Yeah. And, you know, you love competition, you love bumping bars or pushing the limits on a downhill track. And whatever the outcome, you've done your best to be there. Because you're going to do your best in the race. Yeah. I think that's kind of fair. To me, it was always like, you put so much effort into this race, you want it to be, you want it to be a success. I didn't always find the happiness from winning. You know, it was good, but you worked hard for it. So I expected to be in the mix, because, you know, I'd get up at 4:30 in the morning and go train. That was, you know, what we did in South Africa, you know, to beat the traffic. But yeah, and I don't know. I've been lucky. I've had a good career. I've had a lot of good wins, but it's all kind of just happened along the way. I haven't really had this like big plan set out to try and achieve this. I want to become a professional. I want to win a world championship, and I've done that. But, you know, the bigger picture stuff, it kind of just went along its way. Yeah, I don't know if and maybe what you're saying is exactly it. Is like we were so dedicated in the process of it that it didn't really matter the outcome. I really achieved everything I wanted to achieve, and the rest just came along.
Yeah, I think you're saying that. Like, I think you're saying kind of what I'm saying is that, like you didn't, it wasn't like you were some over the top, crazy, happy, like exuberation when you won. It was just like, I fucking worked hard. Like I won the race. And I think that to race for 27 years, like you've got to really enjoy the process of getting ready to race and just doing all of the things. And I think that the people that really do succeed in life are the ones that do love the process. And if you kind of let go of the results, it's easy though. Like when you win, not easy, when you win a World Cup overall, your second year at 19, you've kind of ticked the box, right?
Sure.
So then everything else is like, well, fuck, this is already more than I ever thought. And in a sense, the podcast is that to me too. Like it's already way bigger and better than I ever thought it would be. So now it's like, there's nothing really to strive for.
I mean, you adjust the goals a little bit along the way.
Yeah.
You know, because obviously you go like, well, I've done the World Cup. Now I need to win the World Championship. Now I need to do this. And they adjust slightly, but definitely wasn't the plan at the beginning.
Yeah. And your happiness isn't as attached to those results as you move the goalpost to like change the motivation. But I just think it's the people in life really, and what you said, I think is so right. They just happened along the way. Like you just kept doing your thing and you just kept showing up and you just kept being on the road of being Greg Minnaar. And it's like, oh, another world championship, another world, and it's like, and then you just end up having this body of work at the end of it. And it's not so much like, if I don't win or if I win, I want to feel something because this is why I'm doing it. You were doing it to do it, and the winning happened along the way. And I think they're the people that end up being the best in the world at whatever it is that they do.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
So I want to go to one of them in particular because I know you've got to leave soon.
Oh, are we on time?
Yeah, it's 1:30, so I want to get you.
What time did we say?
You said 1:30.
Oh, okay, cool.
So I want to go to.
I paid a lot of attention to that.
There's two wins.
Yeah.
That I think about when I think about your career. 2013,
South Africa,
hometown.
Yeah.
And then 2021.
Oh yeah. Those are my two highlights.
Are they your two?
Yeah. Where do you want to start?
Where would you want to start? What means more? What was
winning at home means a lot, but it came at like it wasn't fun. Like I had so much. I'm from like a small industrial city. It's not a town. It's too big to be a town. It's like a city, but it's like it's called the Sleepy Hollow, and it's not a place you go. You normally leave, and but I love the place. It's great. It's got good mountain biking. It's got a motocross track. And we've got some great sportsmen that come out of the city. But the mountain bike World Cup had gone there, and then they're gearing up for a world championship. And the mentality of the city is, well, Greg's won a world championship, he's going to win it. And so that's what it was. It wasn't like I had any option or, second place was not going to be good enough. I had to win it. And it was going to be a hard race. I got pushed right to the end, and I flip and get a puncture. Like I get a flat in the last rock garden, break a rim, and I'm like trying to get this bike across the line, and you've got this one shot to do it, and I was lucky enough to do it. So, as much as I love late nights after races, it wasn't a very late night, and I think I went KFC on the way home and called it a night. But it was there was the most pressure I've ever had on a run, and I had to win it, and it wasn't a lot of fun. 2021, probably the most gnarly downhill track we race on, and in Italy, in Val di Sole, and I ended up winning a world championship at I think it was a month before my 40th birthday, and that was fun. I had a lot of fun, and it was a late night. A couple late nights.
That's so good. Man, I couldn't imagine the pressure that you would feel at the top of the run in Pietermaritzburg. Like, Jesus, bro.
Man, the wind was coming up through the valley, as the day got hotter, and sometimes it was set earlier on by the Aussies, Jared Graves, Mick Hanna. And
Mick was fast. Did he get second that?
Oh man, I wouldn't even call it second. It was that close. It was like less than half a second. Super close. I could feel and the problem was there was like a flat section of track in the middle. And so you came down at I think about 85 k's an hour and hit these two big tabletops, and you had to try carry the speed down through this flat section. But with the heat of the day coming up from the city, it creates a headwind up that valley. And I know it really well. This is the forest where I did my first mountain bike race. It's the forest I train in when I'm home. I live less than a kilometer away when we're back in South Africa, or when we lived in South Africa. So I know it really well. And now I'm like the last rider down. And so there was a lot of pressure. But if I go back like a year from that, it was Leo Gang in 2012. And I remember looking up the mountain, and I was getting ready to go to the pits to go up for the final World Champs. And I was like, well, I had a pretty good career so far. It's 2012. Don't know how old I was, but probably into my 30s. And I'm going, well, next year is the World Champs in South Africa. So if I win this weekend and then I win there, then I've won 3, then I can retire. Then I've done, 3 World Champs is enough. And so I managed to win 2012. So then I've had 2 World Championships, and now I'm going home. So I've got this internal pressure as well. Like, I have to win this. And then as well as the city just saying, you've got to win it. So there was a lot going on, but that was a very memorable race. 2021 was just this like my 4th World Championship, cherry on top, just an amazing day.
How alone did you feel at the top of that start box in South Africa?
I got to think back. That's a long time ago.
Because you would think like you're not alone in the sense that you have the entire country cheering for you, but then you're the last rider on top, and it's literally all or nothing.
So it was funny. Like everyone was gearing up on these like bigger wheel bikes, to be faster. Maxxis had made some tires that we were trying to develop like a tubby tire, tubular tire for mountain bikes, and they had created this like really thin casing downhill tire for this like project. So they'd made 6 of these tires. And so my mechanic Marsh at the time was like, he had kept these tires. And so while everyone's trying to like build these bikes to, smaller travel, bigger wheels, we decided we're going to stick to the downhill bike because it carries speed well. And we're just going to make the bike as light as possible. And these tires came into play. But the problem was there was a rock garden, probably like 200 meters from the finish line. And so I was gapping this whole rock garden. But I was coming short like couple inches, and I'd break a rim flat and like not make it down to the finish. And so now we're like contemplating like, what do we do? Do we go like to a thicker wall tire and we only had 6 of these tires. So I said to Marshy, put a bit more sealant in. I reckon if I flatten the final, I'll make it to the finish line. And so I mean, those Maxxis tires were like they were gold for that race. Super light, great rubber, great tread, but like a kind of like a super lightweight light wall tire, where downhill tires got like thick sidewalls. So so no one else had these. So that was the ticket to the race, and everything worked to plan. Nailed the rock, broke the rim, flattered, but managed to limp it home for the win.
Dude, that's insane. That's an insane level of confidence to know that you'd been flatting every time, and you were just like, chuck a bit more sealant in there, we'll be good to go. Have you ever told that story?
I'm sure I have. I'm sure Marshy has.
That's crazy. Yeah. That's such a gamble.
Yeah.
At any other race, that seems like a risk you'd be willing to take.
Sure.
But at this one?
But we had the flat section was so flat that we had to carry speed. There was no ways you'd take a downhill tire, which is probably like a good couple 100 grams heavier, through that section as fast. Then obviously like a bigger wheel bike's going to do well. And you had like riders like Jared Graves that come back to fall this track, and Mick Hanna, strong peddler, and all these guys, and all this era, everyone was like, I'm a strong peddler. And I was a strong guy that I could pedal through. And really, I wasn't. Like,
Dude, Mick was a beast,
he
bro.
was a beast.
He
They
used
were-
to live 4 doors down from me, him and
Oh, no
Tracy
way.
in Cairns.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, his old man made him do some crazy shit back in the early days, bro.
I remember him telling me that he had ridden 64 downhill runs or something in a day.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's not about how fast you can ride down, it's how fast you can get up. And my dad's got his ute, and he took me up.
Dude, I remember, so I used to do tons of runs. Have you ridden Coranda when you've been in Cairns? Dude, I love, that's like the coolest downhill track. But that's where we used to go, because a full public road
Right.
that zigzagged up the hill.
Is that where the world champs were?
No, that was Smithfield in Cairns.
right.
Yeah. So, but it was just a public road, and you'd literally just you'd pull in, park, and drop off the side. You'd get down there in I used to do like 5 minutes. Mick was probably like 4 minutes 20 or something, you know. And then you'd pop out onto the road, you'd wheelie the whole bit of the road down, meet in the car park, and dude, so I used to go. So Mick was living overseas at this time, but Tracy was young. She was a couple of years younger than me.
Yeah.
And so I used to pedal my downhill bike down to their place of a Saturday morning, and then you'd get in the car. They had a pretty sure it was like an old Ford Falcon.
Was
And
it yellow?
They did have
I remember seeing a yellow.
they did have
Ute.
they had the ute, but this era was they had this like little station wagon kind of
Yeah.
thing, and it had a bike trailer on the back of it, and you used to pull up. Fuck, dude, you had to be on that shit. Pull up, bang, and this trailer, like, it would literally skip along the road, and he's just a full winding range road to get up to the top, and man, he would fucking send it, bro. And yeah, that you just do like 9-10 runs in a day. But I remember the day that they did that. It was like 60 something runs in the day. But man, just like gate starts, and they lived out of town.
They had a pub track in the garden. And
Yeah. He'd be at BMX every night that there was BMX, just a fucking powerhouse, man. Like an old weight rack, just a sketchy weight rack in their carport. And the old man he'd had like a lathe they had like a single car garage, single carport, and there would be like lathe and tooling equipment, and he'd be like making bearings and just all sorts of shit. Like, man, he was fucking obsessed, eh?
I mean, I remember Mechanic Spain World Championship. What is that, like 2000? And that's his like first year he got noticed. I didn't even think he had like riding gear. He just like cut off jeans, no pads, nothing. Just shorts, t-shirt, gloves, helmet. I don't even think he had goggles on. And I want to say he did like super well as a junior. Yeah.
Is he one of the fastest guys to ever not win a title, a world championship?
Wow, there's quite a few.
There would be a few, yeah.
There's a few, yeah. Aaron Gwin hasn't.
That's fucking crazy.
Anne-Marie Piron. There's a few, yeah. But he's definitely one of them.
How heartbreaking was his second place in Cairns?
Mix.
Yeah.
I was pretty heartbroken too. So I didn't actually see it.
Oh, what happened to you
Oh
that
man,
run?
I had a flat.
What year was that? 19?
No, 2014 run.
Oh, so earlier than that. Okay.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
I had a good run. I had some good splits, and one of the spokes went through the rim tape and ended up flattening down the last section. And so I was prepped for that last sprint, but McKenna was going to be one that I need to take on. But he was strong. Yeah. I was just saying, like, early, like in my career, when we had like pedaling sections, everyone was like, oh, Greg's super strong. I just kept quiet. There was no way. I could never do the numbers anyone else did in the gym. My power output was way less than anyone else. But I would just suck it up and just give it all,
Just
put
suffer.
everything into it.
Yeah.
But, I think everyone was just psyched out that they all thought that I was this big peddler, and really I wasn't.
And you just let him run with the
Just let
narrative.
it go with it. Yeah. I wasn't going to change the view, but
So good.
yeah.
Dude, this was awesome. I could sit and do this for a couple of hours more, but you've got places to be and people to see. You've got a team to run, mate. You're a team manager for the Norco Adidas factory racing team.
Yep.
I love it. I'll be there on the weekend.
you coming up?
My first ever World Cup.
Nice.
I missed all the ones in Cairns because I was living in the US.
Yep.
So this will be my first
This is
ever
a good
World
one.
Cup. Yeah.
It's an incredible to see, like, it's quite flat at the top.
Yeah.
And then this track just bends all the way down. And it's incredible to see how steep it is and how fast the riders are going on it.
Sick. Well,
We'd have a good one.
dude, this was awesome. You were
Thank
one of
you.
my first ever favorite riders. So this is a bit of a bucket list show for me. So
thanks for having me, JCR. It's been great. Thank you.
Greg Minnaar, ladies and gentlemen.
If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe. And to listen to the full 3-hour podcast, search Gypsy Tales in your favorite podcast platform or click the link in the description below. Gypsy Gang.